Welcome to the lab where genetics collide. Reptiles everywhere with colors amplify. The morph so wild, they'll twist your mind. Patterns like art, every scale is defined. In the reptile world, we're raising the bar. Discover new genes, then combining them all. Creating foundations that make our brains shake. Insane combos that hit like an earthquake. Genetic canvas, paint the dream. Make a dream where reptiles glow and the visions gleam. Tune in now, let's raise the ceiling. The best reptile podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Genetic Canvas. As you saw, I had to break out the OG intro just because I was feeling it tonight, wanted that edginess going on, just kind of rocking out on that intro. I love it, so I hope you do too. But tonight is about the breeder blueprint, where we do a deep dive into a breeder's collection, get into their head, learn about their genetic journey through their process of breeding, and really truly try to get inspired and learn along the way from all of the lessons that they learned as well. So it's always fun to dive into these episodes and see what kind of gems we pull from these guests. And there's always, I mean, every episode is full of gems, honestly, of information, and I hope that you all feel that I do a good job presenting it to you as well when I break down the genetics, just like I did in last week's episode. So make sure you guys check out this recap and check out last week's episode if you missed it. We'll start off with the original Leeson line black pastel to give you all the true starting point of everything. And what I'm going to point out here is that this is a trick black pastel, and from the beginning, nothing else. I mean, afterwards, they found out it was trick. They didn't really determine anything else was in there. They saw everything was tricked out from it, including the black pastels that were not trick, and they never really dug into it further. But you can see on the animal inside of the alien heads, there's a dark line splitting the alien head that surrounds the keyhole, and that black line is sometimes apparent on certain lines of black pastel, but not in a bold black scalation pattern, more of like a faint airbrushed pattern. And that could be normal, but the split mutation really brings out the black scales actually piercing through the outlining of the keyholes. And it also creates a very thin dorsal pattern, which tends to be much darker without any kind of toning or blushing or coppering from the blushing or anything like that, unless you get some other mutations in it. And from this animal, they had discovered that there was the Leeson line trick. So this is the Leeson line trick. And you can see here, this, along with many of those that we see today, has that black outlining around the keyholes, even though this is a trick, not a black pastel or anything like that. And since the original animal is suspected to have been a super split black pastel trick and everything had carried the trick, we were kind of selectively line breeding for the best looking split attached to these animals, including the black pastel. And for decades now, it has been bred through the industry. Now, this is a black pastel with no split. So after years and years and years, there's finally animals that are black pastel and cinnamon that do not have the eyebrows. And cinnamon never did have the eyebrows, but it did get worked into them later on, and it kind of got lost in the mix. And then here's another one for your example. This one's probably a het pied, probably, you know, a little bit something that should be influencing that that look a lot more, and you can see it just kind of got a faint darkness around those keyholes. No true black lining or piercing black scales that are very apparent. And the importance of that is that the Blitz didn't come in with anything other than a single copy of split. So a lot of the Blitz that was copied and bred out didn't pick up the split mutation at all. So I actually got the best examples of the Hurricane Blitz trick without split from that line itself. And that's why it never took off in comparison to the others. So this here is a black pastel trick super split. Very, very, very similar to the first original animal. And I'll just pop that animal back up on the screen here so that you guys can all see that. You know, see, very, very similar to the original animal. So as you can see, last week, I really broke down what that split mutation is supposed to be. And we really got into the meat of the episode going forward past that with our guest, Garrick DeMeyer, and the co-host, Heart of the Python, and the other guest. I'm just forgetting it off the top of my head. But make sure you guys go back and catch that entire episode. Garrick ended up having a little bit of issues with the phone overheating at the end, but he started showing off some really killer animals there, and was able to squeeze a few more in with the audio issues before we had to just end the episode there. We were cutting close to the end anyhow, but make sure you go back, comment #ReplayGang so that I could turn you blue. Make sure that I see that you were here supporting us. I appreciate that from everybody in the community out there that's new to breeding, experienced in breeding. I'm sure that everybody is here to learn something, or maybe you're just here to see me make a fool of myself sometimes, because that happens. But either way, I enjoy you being here, so thank you. And make sure you guys also check out the sponsors of this channel. So you can see them all up and down the left and right side over here. See, I can't even do this stuff, but you can see them both sides of the screen. But here is a quick little snippet for you guys to check out, showing you some of the projects that they work with that you can inquire about on their morph markets. And we do offer exclusive discounts through the channel here, so make sure you stay tuned for those as well. We'll start off with the original Leeson line. shout out to our sponsors, and shout out to everybody watching in the chats tonight. Shout out to everybody sending in their merch to get those shout outs live. We got locked and loaded on the fresh and crispy black hat and shirt with the matching combo. We appreciate you over there, Frank. If you didn't know, he's working some amazing monsoon projects, very deep recessive genetic monsoon projects with a lot of incomplete dominance worked in, and some of the craziest super orange dream and scrambler combos that you can imagine. So make sure you're checking that out. Even if you're on the reserved side of things on the scrambler gene, make sure you are looking into it and doing as much to learn about it yourself as possible to draw your own opinions. Because for years and years, actually decades before shed testing, the whole breeding here, or the whole way of proving out mutations in our industry, was through breeding, and it was through results of that breeding. So if you look, just like I took you all on a journey back through the split mutation history, you can kind of do that as well with the scrambler stuff, and you can look through history and see where it was mixed in with these influences and things like that. So we are going to put together a presentation for you all on that as well, maybe even a panel episode or something. So stay tuned for that. It's something that you definitely want to keep an eye on. And that's all I really want to say about that. So make sure you guys are checking out all these past episodes for all these mutation breakdowns, because that's where you get a lot of these gems where we're actually pointing those things out in animals and stuff while they're showing them off. So let me scroll up here through these chats real quick and make our way through so that we can get our guests out here tonight, because we have a lot to talk about and an amazing collection of snakes to really dive into. So first up, we got Dickie Foster in the house. We appreciate you being first here tonight. Blue Zombie Morphs in the building second, and Mitzi at Smiley Heart Exotics. Chris 319 Reptiles in the building. Third Coast Constrictors, Lowe's Exotics, Voodoo Doll Royals, we appreciate you. Dwight the Pied Man in the house. What's up, man? Always doing good over there. Appreciate the music you be sending. Christopher Walker, Reptoid Cleveland, or CLE. I think it stands for Cleveland. We'll see though. Drop it in the comments. Unlock Morphs in the house. What's up, man? How you doing tonight? Jeremy Bowds Exotics in the building. Appreciate you coming out. Enigmatic Reptiles in the building. Josh at Mantooth Captive Bred Reptiles in the house. Appreciate you stopping by tonight. Hope you stay for the episode. Frank at Locked and Loaded in the building. Definitely popping you up because we got you on the merch. Gavin Lamati, appreciate you coming out tonight. That's a new name in the building. I'll make sure to go back and turn you blue. Flux Reptiles in the building. How's it going tonight, Chad? Got a lot of familiar faces, some new faces. We appreciate you all. Fred English in the building. How's it going tonight, man? That's MTZ Pythons, if you don't know. Make sure you guys are checking everybody out. This is a community. Follow everybody. Joe at Mercy Morphs in the building. How's it going tonight, man? So y'all keep dropping the comments. There's a ton that I definitely am probably not going to be able to get to. Michael Blanca in the building. And if I got past your comment, which I likely did, and it was a question, make sure you drop it again so I get it on the update coming up. So James B. Easy in the house. That's All City Serpents. Make sure you guys, like I said, are reaching out to each other. Zenus Reptiles, how's it going tonight? Carter Coils in the house. So let's go ahead and get into this episode. We are going to take a dive into KOIL Snakes Collection. That is A.G. Gregoroff, if you're not familiar. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him out to introduce himself because I have a lot to learn myself. So let's go ahead and all welcome him to the stage. How's it going tonight?
What's up? What's up? Let me get this mic over here. I was pouring a little cocktail. How you doing?
I appreciate you joining us. I'm doing great tonight. I always enjoy doing the show on Sundays. I used to do it on Tuesdays. it's kind of a little hectic after work and with the kid and everything. And so I definitely enjoy my Sundays and doing the show.
I was watching your intro and kind of forgot I was even on. I was just sitting back watching YouTube snake videos. All right, let's
Yeah,
rock and roll.
I
Let's
take
rock and
it
roll.
as a compliment. It just kind of gets lost. And what did you think about the OG intro there? That was the original one. I'm not sure. You probably saw the newer one last week.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I like the intro. I like the way you have it set up. It's super interactive with dropping in the comments for the people on the side, and yeah, all that's really cool.
Thank you, thank you. So why don't you take us back to the beginning of your journey investing into ball pythons, and what kind of sparked that for you, and what kind of sparked your interest in snakes to begin with?
Yeah, so probably my favorite thing to do nowadays is just talk about snakes. I do it all day, every day. I'll hijack people and just talk to them about genetics all day long. People have zero interest in snakes. They're going to sit down and listen to it. We were with some of our VIPs at the strip club the other day. I live in Las Vegas, and
Okay, yeah.
we had a bunch of girls around, and I literally was talking about genetics the whole time, just blowing their minds. Like that, I was like, what the fuck? But anyone that'll listen, I'll talk to them about snake genetics. It's my favorite thing. I mean, obviously I'm new, but the stuff I know and the stuff that I see, it's incredible. You know, I don't know why everybody doesn't breed snakes. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But I'm really new at this. So, 2024 in the summer, I went and bought I bought my girl, her kids, a snake, I think it was a corn snake. And when I went back to the pet store, you know, to buy some feeders, I seen a ball python and the guy was telling me about it. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And I kind of, you know, I went out and I was like, I'm going to look into these. Whenever I do something, I go super deep. So then I get online, I start looking at pictures of ball pythons. And of course, what do I see?
Where did you start? With
The
Morph
dream
Market
circle.
or?
No, no, no. I didn't know about Morph Market for a couple months. I heard people
Okay.
talk about it, but I was just on YouTube. And I seen a picture of a dreamsicle. So I went back to the pet store and I said, "Hey, I want to buy one of these." And the guy's like, "Oh, dude, those are expensive. They're like $500." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a dozen of them. Where do I get them?" And he's like, "You got to go to a breeder to get them." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well, how do I do that?" And he put me in contact with this dude with a tiny collection up in Las Vegas. He had maybe about 10 snakes or so. And he sold them as, well, he originally said they were dreamsicles, but they were lavender albinos. So I
Oh,
still thought
okay.
those were cool. I bought two of them. Sorry. So I seen the dreamsicle, and then I went to another pet store, and at that pet store, they had just this really cool spider. It's like a spider, like lesser. It's just a super cool looking pet snake. You know, no wobble, but you know, white. I'll show you in a little bit, but really cool. You know, really cool animal. And then I wanted to get those dreamsicles. So I went and seen that guy. He sold me a couple lavenders for, I think I paid like $500 a piece. So I had three snakes. And I thought these things were awesome. Kept them in like, you know, terrariums. And then I just doing rabbit holes on YouTube. I started
And what
seeing
year is
rats,
this?
2024. So like a year and a half
24.
ago. Yeah, a
Okay.
little over a year and a half ago. And then from August till Christmas time, I just went on a buying spree. I bought racks, and I was just going to be a collector. I bought things that I liked the way they looked. And
Yeah. And what was the first one that caught your eye? Was it the lavender or was it the other one?
the first thing I seen when I Googled was the dreamsicle.
Okay, yeah.
So I wanted to get one of those. And then I got on Morph Market. When I found Morph Market, it was done. You know, I went and spent stupid money on Morph Market. You know, I bought, I don't know, 120 snakes. And there was times at night I was just on there just buying stuff. And you know, some of the stuff I bought was really nice and it was expensive, but with zero kind of plan
Yeah.
to read it.
What direction did you have at the time? Were you just
None, none.
kind
It was
of,
solely for looks, you know, just a collector. And then I got to the point, and you know, the good part about that is I got to see the ball python community from a customer standpoint, and a customer that's willing to spend money. Where I would message some guys, dude, I was buying 10, 12 snakes a night. So let's say I messaged you And I say, hey, that snake's sick. Will you take $2,000 for it? And then I message another guy and another guy and another guy, and I'm buying snakes. And then you get back to me like 3 days later. I have no idea what snake I was even interested, when you get back, So there was dudes that lost out on a lot of money simply because they had very poor response times. And in my normal business, like that's a key critical thing is you have to respond in real time, I kind of treat what we do, in any business, but let's say you're in the ball python business, treat it like you're a fireman. A lot of times you're cleaning the truck, you're cleaning the tubs, you're at the fire station doing what you have to do. But when that alarm goes off, everything stops and you deal with that alarm. So when that customer reaches out, everything stops, you deal with it right there. It doesn't matter what else is going on. And it's
a good analogy.
If you can't do that, we understand people have kids, people have other jobs. The guy that can respond quick is going to take that business from you, and I've heard guys talk about, I wasn't around during the COVID days. So I hear the stories, what it was like during COVID and like you either buy it now or it's gone sort of thing.
Yeah. Is this comment, when did you do that? Back in 2024, one of the first purchases from Josh, ODYB double het MJ Pied.
That disappeared quick. One of AG's first purchases was the ODYB double het MJ Pie for me. Oh, sick. Yeah. I bought a lot of animals, a lot. And I had no idea what hets were. I had no idea. And I didn't care. I was solely going off of the looks, And, But anyways, what the hell was I saying?
You're talking about you're talking about the purchasing as a business and looking things as a business, and
so guys will talk about the hobbies changing. It's not. The guys I know, they're selling out of all their stuff constantly. And they're selling almost zero of it on Morph Market. It's all happening on Instagram. It's all happening through DMs. I got buddies that are crushing it and they never sell on. Once in a while, they'll get a Morph Market sale, but Morph Market's back burner, And if they only had Morph Market, they're like, dude, my business would be under. So that Instagram, the Twitter, the group chats, like that's where what I see, that's where a lot of the business is happening. But you get a guy who says that the business isn't going well. Well, the one message you didn't respond to, that guy could have went on a buying spree, and then you miss a message here, you miss a message there. And pretty soon you may have lost 10, 20, 30, 40% of your sales for that whole entire year. But anyway, so you get to the end of 2024 and there was some animals I really wanted to buy. And I was already buying holdbacks solely because I liked the way they look.
Yeah, and at this point, did you have a direction, and what direction was your first? Oh, okay.
No, zero. So then,
just still buying just really pretty awesome stuff, but holdbacks at this point, right?
Yeah. I was buying holdbacks that were loaded with hets that I had no interest in breeding. I mean, I would have bred them eventually, but really what I was doing for is they just looked cool, Then I ran into this problem where dudes wouldn't sell certain animals, like at any reasonable price, they wouldn't sell them. So I was like, well, how the hell do I get that? And my buddy was like, oh, dude, you got to breed them yourselves. And I was like, all right. So I started talking to a guy here in Las Vegas named Steve from Las Vegas Ball Pythons.
Yeah.
That dude knows his shit. He doesn't go on podcasts. He stays low key for the most part. But you're talking about like an Albert Einstein snake genius, and crazy when it comes to quality, meaning like the eye. If it doesn't, you can give him a snake that's like an A- for free and he won't take it. Like he wants that A+++, or he's not touching it because he doesn't want it in his collection. So he has some of the nicest stuff, in different examples. But so I started talking to him and he started explaining to me like how the different hets work. And it wasn't until literally January 1st of 2025 that I was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on breeding the animals that I want. So I took those 100 animals that I had, 120, 125, and I got rid of almost all of them quick, just because a couple of them were worth keeping, but most of them were and some of them were really nice, but they weren't going to be part of my future. So we got rid of them. I brought in some more ARS racks and just got really deliberate as to what we were doing. And, every night I'm on the phone for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours, 7 days a week, just talking about genetics and pairings and just trying to, learn what works well with what. And, take what these guys have learned for years and decades and try to crash course that into, the last year, year.
And
And
that's just a lot.
it is, it's tons, and obviously the IDing part is always the most difficult just because you have to
Yeah,
have so many thousands of reps. Um, but luckily we have shed testing. So I could shed test something and say, okay, well, now I know exactly what this is. So then I could study it so I remember what that looks like. Where maybe in the past you might study an animal that you believe is, this and that, but it turns out to be incorrect and maybe throw off
for
your
sure.
eye a little bit.
And I will say that, shed testing is amazing. And I can't wait until they map out every mutation because they
Mhm.
can tell us what we can guarantee from our pairings. But if our pairings contain anything extra that isn't mapped out, then it can't tell us that yet
Yeah.
because we have to be able to, have every mutation mapped. And us as breeders, like I was saying before, we have to do the diligence of proving mutations out still through breeding as well because I think it's proven itself that we can find a mutation that's very close to the causative one that is more of like I forget what they call the terminology. It's like it's a carrier mutation or whatever, and it's not always there, So when they're identifying a test and they're trying to determine the causative mutation, a biomarker, that's what it is. So they may find a biomarker that is carried along with the mutation, but it's only carried along about 80% of the time. And then they
Mhm.
know that they have to move on to a different marker to see if that's the causative mutation. And it takes a lot of that, and they can't tell through the testing if that biomarker or the causative, there could be multiple different mutations that are causative mutations, but they may not be causing the expression differences. So we still as breeders have to do the diligence of proving these mutations out through producing supers and through producing the genetic odds and reproduction. If it's an incomplete dominant, over 100 offspring, we should get around 50. If it's recessive or acts recessive, we should get a 25%, et cetera. If there's something else attached, like we saw with other mutations where something is attached, you usually get that full expression in more of like a 12 percentage of the time. So I'm just notating it's very, very important. I love shed testing and I'm glad, but just like one of the animals we're going to talk about tonight, it's like we feel like there's got to be something else going on that shed testing isn't mapped out for yet.
Yeah, a lot of stowaway genes, it seems like, and we've been blessed to where we've bought we've bought snakes that had really good hets that the originator didn't realize were in that animal.
Yeah,
I was just talking to Charlie about the same thing right before we went on about the biomarkers and talking about the scrambler test and how difficult that might be simply because of biomarkers. And that's way
for
over my head.
sure.
I'm not smart enough for any of that sort of stuff, but I'm glad they have shed testing because
Well,
now we
because,
don't have, it speeds things up so much.
yeah,
Hats off
for
to the
sure.
guys that spent decades figuring this out, originally. And like figuring out that freaking bananas, like the sex gene with bananas, you know how crazy that is? Who
Oh,
figured
I
that out?
know. When
Was
they were
that
talking about that originally, I just I blanked out from the banana stuff and I was like, I kept up with what was being produced, but as far as getting into it and wanting to breed it, I was like, I don't want to end up with a male maker and just produce a bunch of males. And that was kind of an issue at the time. You didn't want a male maker because everybody
it's
kind of had a
crazy that
male
somebody
maker.
it's crazy that somebody figured that out or with
Yeah.
kryptons or any of that stuff. I mean, hats off to the guys that solve these crazy puzzles. And I'm excited to see firsthand in the future when we come across another one of those. Like being close to Justin, seeing the kind of dual gene thing from Cosmos pop up. That was really cool to be so close to him and kind of see firsthand that whole thing evolve from
Yeah,
what people thought it was. I was one of the guys that I was when I got home that night. I was out at the casino or something. When I got home that night, I was gonna drop 40K and buy one of those Cosmos. I talked to Steve from Las Vegas Ball Pythons, and he's like, love it, probably my favorite gene ever. Same with me, like visually. He's like, but you're at the end of that first wave. He's like, by the time your snake grows up, these guys are gonna be dropping double hets, triple hets, and he's like,
yep,
you'll be far behind. So like that learning lesson there of when to buy a new project and when to wait for that second wave was crucial.
exactly. You may
And I'm
want to
glad
buy into that second wave of animals being released because those will carry the other hets that
exactly,
maybe
yeah.
they're hitting a guarantee on a couple and possibles on others and not testing out for the others, but you're still getting ahead by getting the animal with the two
Yeah.
guarantees that they're
So let's
letting go.
let's say I did do that. We'd probably be about a year in. So that snake, let's call it 1,000 grams, right? Give or
Yep.
take. If it's a good eater, more. If it's whatever. So it's called 1,000 grams. Justin selling snakes with like 5, 6 genes in them. Like it would have been a disaster. It'd been suicidal to buy that snake, at the time. And then, but also you got the dual gene issue, and some people have rumored that there's 3 genes involved, but you at least have 2 genes, which makes it extremely difficult to ID, but more difficult to sell to somebody, to confidently produce a snake and then sell it to you as what it might be. That's just so risky.
Yeah, the Cosmos still has a great potential, and I think that once people can see if it really has a lot of differences on its own in combos, that's where it's going to really make a difference. And uh, I think the people working it are really pushing towards that direction because I'm seeing more combos without the white flame, I
Yeah.
feel. So
So
it'll be interesting.
absolutely someone's going to make some cool stuff. And Justin, let's throw the first little controversial thing out there. So Cosmos in its base form, like the Cosmos White Flame Clown, let's just call it that, if Ralph was even
Okay.
IDing it correctly, but let's call it that. That snake is one of the most beautiful snakes I've ever seen. For the style I like, that that's one of the
Yes.
that's a perfect snake, okay? Everything people hit since then is still nice, but it's not as nice. It's less
Hmm.
cool than the original snake.
Yeah.
Just with it, I think 3 snakes that I was like, that snake is freaking sick. And he's hit about 300 animals. I know another guy, is it Brian Bodie? Am I saying that right?
Ryan Bode, yeah.
Bodie, yeah, he posted one that's sick, but it looks just like the original. Love that animal. I might own one as a pet one day. But when you stack and you add more stuff, to me, it doesn't get cooler. So far it hasn't. And if you have 300 animals and you're not like, oh, dude, because think about fucking ultra male. You add one more gene, dude's like, oh, that's sick. You had sunset, you had 2 genes, and people are like, dude,
Yeah,
that's sick.
I can
But they're
understand that.
boring. Most genes are boring when they start, at least from my short experience. An orange dream is boring, but you start adding things to it, and you're like, dude, that's so sick. It's crazy how that looks.
Oh yeah,
So that's
definitely.
the Cosmos thing, is it was cooler when it was at the beginning, and to me, it got less cool.
No, for sure. And that's also part of coming into the industry nowadays and, as opposed to
Give me
like coming in
give me one
before
sec. I gotta
because
close this door. Give me one sec. I can still
yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
no problem. I'll finish my thought though. Like back in the day, seeing a simple orange dream next to a pastel, it really made a huge impact because you're like, wow, pastel is great, but now look at this animal that really gives you those pastel tones without the blushing in the head. And a lot of people didn't like that whiteout blushing in the pastel. So when the
Mm-mm.
orange dream came out originally, it was phenomenal for a lot of people, but it took a little bit of refinement because one thing that is true about ball pythons is when they come out of the wild as imports, they're always a darker, grungier animal than the animals that they produce typically. And that usually doesn't have to do with line breeding, that just has to do with it being captive bred for a few generations, as opposed to a wild type animal that just has a lot more sun exposure, a lot more melanin from that sun exposure, things like that. So scarring, everything happens to make them look grungier when they come in from the imports.
Yeah. The cool thing with this hobby too is you get to be your own artist. And we've seen guys that,
Yes.
kind of work their own path. And there's some guys that make animals that are gorgeous, but they're not my style. Then there's some guys that make animals where I was like, dude, everything that guy hits is exactly the style I like.
So
But
tell me,
I'm with you. Like, so the first thing I look at is the head. Very first thing. So you
mhm,
show me an animal, first thing I do is from like the back of the head to the snout is the first thing I look at. If it doesn't look cool, the rest of it doesn't matter. It's like a chick with a
gotcha. Okay.
super ugly face. She got a nice body, that's fine. Not my thing. Everything has to be a 10. So when you get those pastels with the white heads on them, I don't like that. And then even like the
Yeah.
black
So you're not
pastel.
into like super vanilla combos?
Oh no, no, hell no,
No? Okay.
no. I mean, I have a pastel hypo DG clown pied, and she looks okay
I
for
got
being
the
what she
pictures
is.
of her.
Yeah, for being
She's
what
the
she
one
is,
that's
she
like
looks
yellow
cool.
and the white, right?
Mhm. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like I love black pastel, but you get some of those black pastels, they don't have eye stripes, they don't have a head stamp.
That's her there, right?
She's like beautiful and ugly at the same time.
I
But
wonder.
we're gonna work some nice magic with her. So when we got her at the time, I believe she was the only hypo DG clown pied. She had pastel, but she was the only one at the time on Morph Market. So when I bought her, a few guys were like, dude, pastel, like you're gonna have a hard time missing that. And I thought,
Okay.
we have a lot of shots at hypo DG clown pieds, from coming underneath, but let's take a shot from up down. So, we already have one. Let's just try to miss the pastel. The guys I seen trying to miss pastel, it's like 75% of the clutch is pastel. I don't know where the
Yeah.
50-50 comes in, but it's not happening in the clutches that I'm seeing. So the goal with her is to hit some hypo DG clown pieds, with codoms and stuff, but without the pastel. So avoiding that pastel is the goal. And I think I have 3 or 4 snakes with pastel. And once the pastel's out of them, we're not going to breed them
Well,
anymore.
the one thing that's good is it's in the female, because I would
Mhm.
always, suggest to anybody, my own personal take on it is,
Keep it out of the
if
mail.
I'm taking, yeah, if I'm taking a mutation that I may not mind in the project, but I don't want to hit it and everything, or maybe not want to hold it back through everything, I keep it in the female, because
Yeah.
that way I'm not spreading it. And that's always advice to live by, pretty much. Don't put that mutation you don't want in your male, you know?
Yeah. And if it's true, let's call it 75% of the clutch, turns out to be pastel, then if you breed 10 clutches with that male, 75% of those eggs are trash, or their value is going to drop
Their
dramatically.
value is just going
Why
to
would
be
you do that?
significantly
You
hurt
know?
by that, because the demand is what's hurt by it. It's really the value is suffered by the demand of interest, because once pastel hits it, and I've been trying to change a lot of perspectives in different projects with the pastel here on the show, because I feel like it really truly works in about everything outside of certain clown combos, from what hurt it early on. A lot of clown stuff hurt it early on, but and also, the usage of it. It's one of the earliest mutations, but I have it in some things. I don't mind it in those things. I don't want to hit it in everything, especially for my holdbacks, but I think more people are just ashamed to hold on to it and say that, hey, I bred a pastel and I'm selling this. And, I used to see them offering these animals that were significant genetically, but had pastel for maybe $100 less than the one that had no pastel. Now you're seeing a significant decrease in
Huge.
value from the pastel, because they don't want to hold on to it because they're ashamed that they have pastel or something along those lines. It's like, and you see that kind of not in the shame or anything like that. I'm just throwing that out there, but like there is a lot of shame with pastel, and that's why I say that. But you see a lot of that affecting markets where people just don't want to hold on to an animal. Yeah, the market's bad. If
Yeah.
this isn't
That
my opinion is, if this is something, I see the people who live on this and do this full time and they're putting significant animals on auction. It's like those people have to have an income to cover their overhead because this is their sole purpose of their, income. So I understand that. But when there's people who don't do this full time, dropping animals on morph market that shouldn't be there, I question it. Like, why? Just to hurt the market even further?
yeah,
Why don't you hold on to these? We
that
need
female
to
that I
iron
bought,
up, you know?
that female that I bought, I got her for $7,500 under market value because she had pastel. You
We
know, if
do
she
all
would have
just
had
have bad
pastel,
odds.
she would have been 25 grand. You know, that's what Justin's been selling them for on Morph Market. We got her for substantially less because of the pastel. And
Yeah.
I would have bought the $25,000 one if that one was available at the time, knowing what I know now about pastel. But if you're a breeder and you're on a budget, you know, and you're like, oh, dude, I just don't have, my wife will kill me if I spend five, six,
Yep.
7 grand on something. Get a nice pastel and pray to the odds gods that you're going to miss it. You know, and if you get
Yeah.
one or two nice animals from there and you keep them, hold them back, you can kind of fast track your collection with a lot of luck. I mean, I got a male that's a pastel, black pastel, confusion clown, double het hypo DG that would be worth a decent amount of money if he didn't have pastel. But he has
Yeah.
pastel, so he'll never breed, you know, any of our
But
animals.
genetically, it's worth it for you to try to breed and get those animals out of it. But if you
I
have
won't breed
something
them.
better
I can't.
already, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I can't breed them. You know, I might
Yeah.
keep them for my berm and do some berm balls or something like that.
Oh, that would be
But I'll
awesome.
probably just end up selling him, you know. And he's so ugly. He might be the ugliest snake I've ever seen. I'll show you a picture of him. His whole head's just white, and yeah, he's super ugly. He's cool though.
Oh,
Like
okay.
personality wise, a super cool snake. But
Yeah.
so after starting, you know,
What
we
was,
wanted to be impactful. Okay, so we don't want to just breed snakes. You know, I wanted to do it with a purpose.
yeah, what was the
And
project direction that you first initially really took on an investment in?
we spent a lot of money in every direction, bro. Every
But I mean,
direction.
like, what was the first direction that you really went, like,
So,
this
so a couple
is,
things we've done and we want to do. So I want to bring in a new gene, right? Like a tornado or, you know, something really nice or something in the future that we don't know about yet. But I want to have a strong base foundation of snakes. So what I want is at least 6 hypo DG clown pied females grown up with some codoms, right? Then I want some hypo DG clowns with some codoms grown up. So I want to have a foundation of snakes. So let's say I brought in Tornado, you know, and I spent whatever the money is. We can make quintets immediately with that if we got a male.
yeah,
Versus
yeah,
my collection now, and even if I bought a male, like we might hit a couple things here or there. But the next couple of years, I just want to stock a foundation of powerful females, multiples, so that when we do introduce something new, we can immediately have an impact with it. So that's the kind of the goal over the next couple of years is just get those hypo DG clowns, those hypo DG clown pieds. I want hurricane and super hurricane hypo DG clowns and hypo DG clown pieds. You know, ultimately orange dream, lace, everything in there, you know, and we're setting it up. Now, all we have to do now is just pray to the odds gods and wait. You know, we got the ingredients. We've bought some nice stuff and we're going to make some nice stuff. We're going to buy more nice stuff when it comes out, but truly trying to be impactful. And you can't start, you know, you can't start at the base in this hobby. And the reason snakes are expensive is because I'm buying back the time that you guys spent to do this. You know, the guys, like I was listening to Will from RCR talking about like shit in the 90s. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. Like early 2000s, 1990.
yeah. Shout
If
out
I
to
buy
all
a
them
snake
guys,
from
man.
him, Like I'm buying a $30,000 snake, let's say, or $10,000 snake. I'm buying all that time and experience back that he's
100%.
put in, and Bob was talking about the old day, just, 10, 15 years ago or whatever it was. We have to buy all that time back from you guys because you guys spent all that time. And in 10 years, someone's gonna have to buy that time back for me that we spent. So that's where that's where that price comes in that people don't understand is you're buying back time. Justin had said he sold a $65,000 male tornado. I think it was head clown. I forgot what it was, but $65,000 is a shitload of money to everybody. To some guys, that's more than an annual, salary. And to other guys, they could afford it. But for an animal, that's a lot of money. That animal might
Yes.
not breed. That animal might die. That animal might just do
It's
nothing.
an investment risk,
It's huge
There's
risk,
always
right?
risk with investment.
But what you're buying back is 2 decades of his time and experience to have that animal, to breed it, to grow it up, and then for you to be effective with it. But to go out
On
and
top of
have an
that,
animal like that without the right collection, you're wasting your money.
yeah, and with that animal and that project, one like that specifically, you're also buying that demand interest in the project because there's a value point to that as well because somebody just proved that out to be genetic. Now they've worked it into things, but the initial unveiling of it to the industry was such a big wow and everybody wanted it, so there's such a high demand spike that it warrants that type of value as well on that side. Because if you bought into a project like that at 65 and then the following year they were 25, you're still gonna be doing pretty good if you got a male. In this industry, projects don't happen like that. Like a lot of people think that this industry just falls apart with prices, and that's just not how it happens. You will see that tornado project hold incredible value for probably close to a decade. It'll be very untouchable. I mean, there's been so many projects over the years that were untouchable that I just, like Monarch was one that I didn't want to get into because of its value and because of the controversy and the differences with Monarch or with Ultramel. But now, after shed testing and everything and the determinations that they're completely different, like there was no fear of investing. But then at that point, the market was sliding. So it
Yeah.
was also a good time to invest just alone for that reason as well. And that
There's
was
this
all
weird there's this
different
weird
reasons.
thing that I've noticed in the hobby, and it's only with a handful of guys where they'll hate a gene that they don't have. If they don't have it, they'll hate it, or if it's new, they'll hate it, or something looks like something else, and it's
There's
wild to me. That's just not the coming from the jujitsu world. It's not like normal to me. In jujitsu, we share all information. If, for example, if I hit a move on you, if I tap you with something, you're gonna be like, dude, what the hell was that? I'll show you immediately how I set it up, how to do it, where the pitfalls are. Like, there's no secrets. So in
Yeah,
ball
okay.
python, the same thing is like, if I know something, reach out, I'll share it. There's no secrets. There's some guys that are kind of weirdly private or whatever, but
Yeah, I
whatever.
ran into that a little bit, but
Those guys
it's
are
not
their own person.
very much. I feel like most of our industry is really chill. Most of them are really
Super cool. Yeah, some of the
wanting
coolest guys.
to collaborate, and my grandfather, he always used to tell me, collaboration's at the top and competition's at the bottom. So,
Yeah.
when
You
people are at the
mentioned
top, they're trying to work together to further things. It's not like, that's where the passion really is. It's not at the top, so to say, but when you're passionate about this stuff, you collaborate with other people who share the same passion. And when, you're a great example of somebody who can grow into the knowledge pretty quickly with the passion to also collaborate with those same type of people that are in the top 5% of the industry.
it's cool. You had mentioned Ultramale, and it's not an Ultramale Monarch comparison. They're both super cool, and they both look
Yeah,
different. They both do different things. So why not work both of them? Why not have both of them? Why not love both of them? They're both
I
awesome.
do.
You know,
At the time, though, what I was mentioning though is at the time monarchs were still like 10K
Mhm.
for a single gene, and Ultramels were far beyond the genetics that you could get in the Monarch project. So there wasn't really much draw towards the Monarch or demand there because everyone's like comparing it to Ultramel at the time, and there was a lack of combinations on the Monarch side to really show what it could do in contrast to the Ultramel pairings, which now we have a lot of those combos to show, and people can see, like, even after shed testing, it just people weren't really on board with Monarch, and now with the combo comparisons, they're even shifting their focus more to allowing Monarch into their collection, at least the idea of it.
Yeah, Monarch's super sick because you can make a Monarch look like an Ultra Male, but I haven't seen somebody make a Ultra Male look like a Monarch yet. And maybe one day they will. But if you have Monarch, you can do a whole plethora of different combos with it. You know, imagine it in like Sunset or some of the popular things that people have hit that look super cool in Ultra Male. You know, I'm
Yeah,
excited to see where that goes. We're not in
the
we're not in
rest.
we're not in Monarch, we're not in Ultramel, we're not in Puzzle, and we're not in Sunset. And we're not in Exantic. So all the big projects everyone's
Okay.
working, we're focused on getting this foundation that I was talking about of the HypoDG Clown, the HypoDG Clown Pieds. I want a Confusion HypoDG Clown. I want a Stranger HypoDG Clown. I want multiple Hurricane HypoDG Clowns, and same thing with Pieds. You know, some guys
Yeah, I
are
pulled
pulling
this
away
one
from
up from
Pied.
your archives there.
Oh yeah.
That
So
was Vanilla Spot Nose Stranger Clown Double Het Hypo DG.
yep. Yeah. She's
Is that one
at
breeding for you?
20, I think she's at 22 millimeters right now. She's around 20. And we
Nice.
got her locked to the vanilla Confusion Clown double het Hypo DG. So the potential there, you know, is huge on what could be hit.
Oh, you don't like super vanillas though.
Hopefully we miss some.
No, they're really cool. I think with all that dark stuff, you might not mind it if you do hit it on accident. But yeah, that's a killer pairing. The confusion with the spot nose vanilla stranger, and then the potential all clowns, and then potential hypo DG clowns. That's an
Yeah.
amazing pairing. Yeah,
Imagine a Confusion Hypo DG Clown or a Stranger Hypo DG Clown or both,
I
a
think the
Stranger
confusion
Confusion.
spot nose stranger hypo DG clown. That
Be
combo
insane.
out of that pairing will be the best, just for all the dark combos kind of overlapping. But the spot nose will give it a little bit of like contrast because the brightening effect.
I just bought a Stranger Hypo DG head clown from Steve at Las Vegas Ball Pythons, a male, just as a backup, you know, to make sure that in the next year or two we're able to, I say make sure to increase our odds to try to hit that. Since once we hit it, now we got to get a bunch of codoms into it.
Yeah. What's your plan on that? Have you already purchased females that you're raising for a potential hopeful holdback male to get up within like a year's time to breed those females that you're planning ahead?
Yeah, we got it's tough because we're in the position where there's a lot of stuff we want to buy. There's not always what we want on the market, and then it has to look
Yeah.
a certain way. You know, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to the looks. You know, anything I buy, it's at that time was the best one that I seen. You know, you might have one hidden in your collection that's like, dude, that's so much sicker. We got a paint mail that was the best one at the time that I seen. My buddy has one. I was like, dude, that's even sicker, but he's not going to sell it, you know? So I try to buy everything that's the best available, and I'll wait a while until I see it. But paint's another one, but we're early in paint, dude. We have a yellow belly paint male that will probably pair to that pastel hypo DG clown pied eventually and get some quintets from it, you know, and kind of go
Oh
that
yeah.
route.
Yeah. Some comment earlier said that you were going to start killing it in the paint game here soon. So they had
I
an
mean,
insight.
I say that we don't have anything going, you know, but
No,
we're
they
going to
just probably
pair it
knew
to
you
some,
picked that up though.
we're going to pair it to some strong stuff. And then obviously if somebody comes along with something really sick, we'll pick that up and add that to the collection. And, you know, everything I want to have multiples of, you know, 5, 6 of them. So then later on, like I said, we could introduce a new gene or another gene and start hitting some really, really cool combos.
Hell yeah. Hold on one second here. fumbling around with this thing. Why isn't it? There we go. Make sure that if you are here watching, that you are staying tuned because we are about to get into some crazy animals coming up here soon. So make sure you're not going anywhere. But just wanted to make sure you guys see that this is going to be the first discount code we're dropping in this episode, and that is the Cue Ball Morphs promo code. Make sure you guys are using that code to save on your entire order. Make sure you guys are checking them out on Morph Market and Instagram, Gem20 for 20% off your entire order. He's got some crazy mutations that just you don't see every day. He's working some stuff that's really untapped, and he's got his own directions that you cannot get those combos from anybody else. So make sure you guys are inquiring to see what he has available. Now let's get back over here. So I wanted to ask you next about these animals that we were kind of talking about. You had the shed testing done on it, and they seem to have some extra things. They just seem to be so much extra. And let's see. We have the Hurricane Orange Dream Fire Pompeii Het Pied, correct?
Oh yeah.
Now this animal, that's the
So
best picture.
that was produced by Steve at Las Vegas Ball Pythons. We bought that immediately, and he showed me a picture of it in the egg, and we were like, dude, how is that a pied? Like the pictures were 100% a pied, you know, in the egg, but obviously you don't ID
Because it
things.
was like belly up.
Exactly. And, you know, so we started looking at the old records. He had full panel tests on the mom, and he's like, dude, it tested negative. Like, how's that possible? So we were scratching our heads for a little while. Then when it came out and shed tested, it shed tested for obviously the OD Hurricane, black pastel, red striped spot nose, yellow belly clown, and het pied, which is crazy. We weren't expecting the het pied in there. So I had to buy that immediately. And it's a
I don't know
male.
why my
So
screen's moving.
it's a male. So it lets us do a few things. Obviously, you know, we can try to build off that. But it takes some of the snakes I have. I kept maybe 3 or 4 snakes from when I was just a collector that they're pets, you know, they're like het clowns or nothing. They're nothing genetically powerful, but they're pets that I'm fond of. You know, one of them is super mean, so we can never sell her because, you know, if you give her to a kid, she's going to bite the kid 20 times and someone's going to end up killing her, you know, so we're going to keep her forever. But we can breed something like this to her, and off a het clown, you know, with the craziest odds in the world, we could potentially duplicate him in a female form, you know, if we're lucky. Obviously mine, you know, yeah, look at that guy.
Yeah, that thing is insane. And the one thing that jumped out, probably the same to you and the same to Steve, and right away was how much lift and drag that pattern
Mhm.
has for the combinations that are in it.
So high. Yeah, it's all almost all dorsal.
And what jumped out to me immediately was when you told me that this animal only genetic tested for a single copy of Orange Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, so genetic breakdown here is Hurricane, Orange Dream, Fire, Black Pastel, Spot Nose, Red Stripe, Yellow Belly, and Clown. Now
No
that
fire.
genetic
No fire.
combination. Oh, no fire? Oh, you
Yeah.
did have one on your Instagram that had fire in it, though. Is there...
Originally, I think the very first post, that was the
Oh,
theoretical ID. Yeah. So
I
a
gotcha.
Hurricane, Orange Dream, Pompeii, het pied.
Gotcha, no fire. Thank you
Yeah.
for that
The fire was
clarification.
the original theoretical
It didn't
ID.
test out.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. So, Hurricane, Orange Dream, Yellow Belly, Red Stripe, Black Pastel, Spot Nose Clown. And that genetic makeup does not make sense for that physical, that
It
genetic
doesn't. It
expression.
doesn't. I've seen one with like it's missing one gene and it looks like a whole different species. Like it looks so
Yeah,
different than
it
this.
just doesn't have any legs to the pattern at all. And I'm going to say it right now, the only thing I've ever seen that with, and we've had our conversation about it, was super scrambler stuff, you know, and I mentioned that to you, and we did some digging into the parents and the grandparents and stuff like that, and we're gonna kind of show you guys what we have here. So this is actually the grandmother of that snake, and that's just supposed to be a black pastel clown.
I don't remember. I don't know.
I forget.
That's not my snake.
Yeah, I don't remember if it had the genetics on it, but
Beautiful
if
snake
you
though.
could maybe say Orange Dream Black Pastel Clown, but if you look up a typical Orange Dream Black Pastel Clown, this animal has a lot of that block chaining to the pattern, a lot more lift, especially around by the tail. You can kind of see it chaining together, but that color is just crazy on this animal. But it doesn't really say a whole lot. It just has a different look to it. But it's definitely different than a black pastel orange dream or a regular black pastel clown typically. And going further down the genetic line though, because you know, it may not have came from that animal, it could have came from what that animal was paired to, but the mother of that Pompeii here.
Oh,
And
look at that head stamp.
this is a crazy animal because that was just a Hurricane Enchi. What was it? Hurricane Enchi, yellow belly, orange dream clown,
I'd have to
or red
pull
stripe. It
I had
had
to
red
pull the
stripe,
records up on it. Let me see if I could find them.
but there's nothing to explain.
Give
Yeah,
me
you
one second.
can.
I got the ID card. Let me grab it real quick.
Yeah, cool. But there's nothing that can really explain how much color and everything because there was no special in there, there was no cypress in there, and we're just seeing this consistency through her clutch because we actually have some other animals from the clutch. So this was a clutch mate to the mom, and this one here actually shows more of that pattern similar to the actual grandmother, where you get more of that chaining, that blocking together, and that lift to where it's chaining. So this is just things that we're seeing, and we're just trying to pin down what's making that animal really look different. So he'll come back with the genetics on the mom from the pairing. And then this is a clown clutch mate to the mom. So this would be an Enchi Hurricane Clown. And at best with yellow belly, I think we'll actually let's hear the pairing real quick. Oh, the
Okay,
mom's
so
genetics.
Steve gives out these cool cards. So you got a
Oh,
the
here, can you
sire.
show that again?
Yeah, so it was a fire. The fire. The father was a fire hurricane, OD clown, produced by Ozzy, and then the dam was an Enchi Pompeii self-produced.
Yeah, and the Engie Pompeii came from that pairing with the mom to another male, and we don't know the genetics on the male specifically, but I was just showing them the clutch mates to mom. So that's the side gut of the mom, and it's just extreme, you know. There's just not much explanation for how extreme it was. That was the clutch mate to the mom that actually looks most closely to the grandmother, just like a regular black pastel clown that has a lot of aberrancies to it that typically they don't have, brighter colorations and stuff. And then this was a Hurricane Enchi clown, but what I was explaining to a lot of people about like the scrambler stuff is when you get the patterns where it pushes the alien head connection to the belly further around to the ventral scales on the center of the belly, you end up losing a lot of the lift to the pattern. So when you look at the snake, you don't see any lift to this snake. But when you actually roll one of these snakes over, you actually see the separation there still under the belly, and it's on the sides of the ventral scales. And to me, this looks like it's heavily influenced by something outside of just an inchy, a yellow belly, and a hurricane. Because from my experiences, and a lot of people can vouch for this, you don't get this much checkering on a yellow belly clown, no matter what pattern you put into it. And usually clowns typically end up pulling the yellow belly more up into the legs of the alien heads than actually checkering the sides of the belly. So this doesn't make sense as far as a pattern along the side of a belly of an Enchi hurricane clown, even with
Crazy, right?
yellow belly. Yeah. And here is just that picture again of that one. Here's a third picture of that baby that you have, and that's a little bit bigger.
For me, the reason I bought it is to me it was one of the best snakes, if not the best snake produced in 2025. You know that and like
It's
Justin's
insane.
yeah, 80 ADC or no, sorry, the Confusion Exantic he hit. That was like those two, personal opinion, I'm super biased, but those are the two best looking snakes that I seen,
Hmm.
from last year.
And with an animal like this, and our discussions, like I said, this is all speculation based on the proven genetics of some top breeders of what they've been producing and what they've proven out with the super forms of the scrambler and everything through their diligence and their decades of breeding. So anybody that wants to doubt the scrambler, go ahead, doubt the scrambler, that's fine. But this here is clearly just for speculating that there should be something else going on because it's just way different than even what AG said. You remove a mutation, you look at combos similar with a mutation removed, and it just doesn't look like anything that would be another mutation plus. So just clarifying, this is speculation. We're not saying that's definitely scrambler.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's super sick. I'm glad that I was able
It's just,
to buy it. A lot of
yeah.
people wanted that, and I was just quick to buy it.
Let's see, what was this animal here? You sent me this picture and I was super curious.
That is one of the new hatchlings from our primary breeder male.
Okay. And then this is the side of that animal. I mean, look at that. That's insane.
Yeah, not that this is a different male. The male that sired this is a different male than what we've been showing.
Oh yeah, and what was the pairing on this one? I'm not saying this was relating to what we were talking about before at all. I'm just showing it off because I was so curious.
Oh,
Because that
can you
thing
go
is
back real
amazing.
quick to that picture from Las Vegas ball pythons, the one with the high lift that we were just looking at? I just got a text message. I want to make sure I'm looking at it correctly.
Which one? This
Uh,
one?
you were
Or
looking at the
the
belly.
Hurricane Enchi one?
Yeah, that one's not hurricane. He said
It's not Hurricane. Okay. What did
that's
it test out as if
a
he's
spot nose inchy clown.
okay, the spot nose is what I was confusing for the Hurricane is all. So then this one here, spot nose, Enchi clown, that's all it tested as?
Look how crazy that head stamp is. Why would you not
That's
want
even
that on?
more insane. Honestly, that's even more insane because the Hurricane would have made a little bit more sense because all the keyholes and stuff, but I guess, spot nose, that's the craziest spot nose Enchi clown I've ever seen. And it
This is what
tested negative
happens.
for yellow belly.
This is what happens when you're psychotic about quality. This is what you get
Yeah,
when you
you
deal with
pick up things.
Steve at Las Vegas Ball Pythons. Check him out on Morph Market, Instagram, wherever you
Yeah.
buy snakes.
And that's the thing is like with stuff like this, with people who just select the best quality and breed the best quality, and they're not in it for like making new things and grabbing a bunch of money. It's like you may end up with some of the coolest new stuff by purchasing some of their best animals. And yeah, they're going to ask a premium because they're the best animals possibly on the market, just like that Hurricane OD Pompeii that you bought, AG. I mean, but you may have gotten a few little extras in there that just make
Yeah.
everything look so much better. And
I
maybe
mean, when
something
you
new.
see a ball python with that much color, like that color and that contrast, and I'm not bragging. I didn't produce it. I only bought it. So I did the easy part. But the look of that snake, so my personal, what I personally like, that snake is so ridiculously sick. And he's up to, I think, 475 grams and looks exactly the same. Like he didn't lose any color at all. I lost the audio on you.
I muted because there
There
was
you
an
go.
airplane. Sorry. Yeah, but in the one image, I think it was just the actual, auto adjust to the camera made it just look a little blonder. But
Yeah, the one in the back, the one where I'm holding it in my hand, that's outside on a cloudy day. That's the truest color that you'll see it. Yeah, that one was like in a dark room. That one's in a lit room. That one's really
uh,
accurate.
this one, the one I
That's
made
the most
small,
accurate. Yeah, that's the one that's just holding it in my hand outside with an iPhone. Zero edits, zero adjustments. It's been cropped, obviously, but that's it.
yeah, it's amazing. So this here is one of your hypoclown.
Yeah, so I picked this up from Steve at Las Vegas Ball Pythons. I believe this originally came, forgive me if I mess up the name, but I believe it came from Steve Russo, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah.
And Hypoclown Pied, maybe guys can chime in the comments. From what I've seen online, they don't normally look like this. And she doesn't have a ton of patterns, so there's not
Travis said he's got
a
you.
lot to look at, but she's the mom. She's the dam of our primary breeder male that we have, and we'll go into him. We'll go into him next. But again, she produces crazy babies,
Let's see here.
and she's been full panel tested for everything known. Nothing else has popped up.
We had one comment here. How variable can paint be in terms of quality? Do you want to take a shot at that from what you've
Oh
seen?
yeah, I think, and keep in mind, you're talking to a dude who's like in his first year. Paint's the gene that I've seen, the morph that I've seen that has the biggest variation on what looks good, what looks bad. Where I've seen some side patterns just gone, there's nothing there. It looks
Yep.
completely deleted, and others are just super granular and like pixelated, and they look super sick. So there's guys with way more experience and way smarter than me that could comment on that. From what I've seen as a buyer looking for paint, it has the biggest swing out of any morph I've seen so far.
Yeah, and talking to Limey Smidger over the years, I know that early on, like in his collection, he worked that Mogwai mutation into paint pretty prolifically through a lot of his stuff. He has a lot of it without it, but that creates a lot of variation, and then proving it that it wasn't yellow belly, getting it mixed in with Mogwai yellow belly paint. Like it really, there's a lot going on there. You also have some classic granite stuff still mixing around a lot of these mutations that are more granity, and that always enhances expressions and things like that. But we wrote so many things off as polygenics that we so many mutations off back in the day that we just kind of call polygenic now as far as influences, and I think that's a big issue too. That shed testing will eventually solve, but it's not on the front burner. It's definitely in the boiler at the bottom of the stove.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on? I mean, I've heard there's different lines. There's different lines of paint. I know there's visually a big difference in some of the stuff out there. Has there been kind of definitively different lines?
No, so through shed testing, both the Sentinel and the paint test the same. So there's no genetic difference, just like Blitz, Hurricane, and Trick.
Hmm.
So phenotypically, there's just added genes that are enhancing the looks of these expressions. And when you get the lowest expression, it could be affected by something that is taking away from that expression, you know? It may not be something that it's actually just a lower quality of that mutation. It may just be expressed, it may just be hurt by its phenotype expression through something else, you know,
Mhm.
attached to it. And pastels, I think, is one of the biggest overlooked morphs in the axanthic complex. I was one of the first people who started asking everybody with the black axanthics that had dark phase. I said, that's a dark phase. Is it pastel? Yes. It's the dark phase. Is it pastel? Yes. I said, you know, my whole theory has been for years that the dark phase black axanthics and the dark phase VPI axanthics are that line of pastel that get really, really dark as they age. They brown out entirely as they age and they get really dark. So that's kind of what has been consistent through asking questions, because I don't breed those axanthics in that dark phase myself, but everybody tends to say yes. Now, there are a few rare examples of animals over time that didn't have axanthic involved at all that ended up gaining high melanism, but those ended up being like hyper melanistic animals that didn't prove out to be genetic. So what is it really that is affecting everything? Is it, you know, a mutation has a level of strength? I don't believe so. I believe a mutation is a mutation, and once a mutation changes, now it's mutated. It won't test the same, it'll be a different mutation. So if you have a mutation that looks different on all these levels, there's different things affecting it on each animal. And it breaks down to, you look at RGI's rundown, like they did the whole, they actually showed us like all the thousands of hits that they get on that one little segment of DNA that they look for a hypomutation. And just on that one spike where there's a major mutation, they get 1,000 of them, and you know, 20% of them could be major. So out of that 20%, how many of them are expressing or changing something visually that is affecting the morph as well?
Would you think that getting a low expression, if you bred it enough, it can turn to a high expression, or is it going to stay at its base level and produce similar results as to what it already has?
Now, I think with ball pythons, it can be tricky because it's proven that you can take a lower quality orange dream, breed it to a really nice female, and produce better quality orange dreams. But at the same time, you're probably picking up something from that really blonde, normal looking, you know, that really blonde, normal female back in the day, because you're
Mhm.
trying to breed it to something that is lighter in color, even though it's a normal. So you may be picking up a polygenic trait that carries along with that line of orange dream and produces higher expression and lower expression orange dreams. Just like with the split breakdown last episode, you know, in the beginning, that one line seemed to have a super split, which all the animals had split. So if you were breeding anything together, you were then doubling up on that as well. And then you had the blitz and you had the other lines where the blitz wasn't as expressive because it came in with only probably one copy of the split mutation, because it had some of the little markings of the split, but it wasn't as expressive as the trick, which is why nobody put two and two together that they were the same mutation. No one even thought that they were the same because how different they were. Now, why were they so different if they genetically are the same? It's proven just in that alone that there was something carried along through each different one, making them express differently.
With that orange dream example, how much byproduct do you think you would have? Would you have more or less byproduct trying to get that nicer example from a lower example than
More.
if you had a nice example and you try to get it nicer?
You would
Does that
get
make sense?
more byproduct from the lower example trying to make it nicer again than you would the other way
Yeah.
around because you're trying
That's
to
kind of the whole
grab something
purpose
from
of what we
another
do as
animal.
breeders is take something that's not that cool. Like I said, remember we're talking about
Yeah.
how Cosmos looks super sick now, but as you add, it looks a little bit less cool. Like Orange Dream, just a base Orange Dream looks dumb, but you add a few combos, you line breed it for a while, and it just looks crazy bright orange, And with
Yeah.
all those genes over a long time and taking the best examples, we're able to make it look cooler. But I feel like that's why the quality is so important because you're taking that hard work that already exists in the best example and you're just keeping working it and working it and working it and working it. And
Yep.
you could kind of refine a low expression, but I feel like a person's adding so much more work to their plate when the whole purpose is to kind of polish that diamond. The diamond's a little bit more polished over here, so take that polished diamond unless your only option maybe financially is to take the lower expression and work it, just like we were talking about with those the pastels and the multiple hets. You can still get to the end result, it just takes way more time. And
Yeah.
I kind of came up with this is nothing nobody told me, but anyone who's a breeder here already knows this, is you can't speed things along in ball pythons, but you can sure slow them down and mess things up. And really like the systems game that we play is like you're getting that train to go down the tracks and it's maxed out on its speed and all you could do is mess it up and slow it down. So trying to get the genes as nice as possible, get everything perfect so that train just moves down the track smoothly without any interruptions. What's up,
For sure.
Thomas?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's the most important to really state about line breeding and remember about line breeding is that we are always line breeding to select something that's making that animal, that mutation's expression better. We're not always selecting a better form of that mutation because, like I said, if a mutation changes, it doesn't test the same. So you are picking something to breed into it when you're line breeding. You're selective breeding for that lineage to look better. So you are trying to pick up something else from another animal to make this one look better. And that's what line breeding comes down to. And now, if you're doing it to where you are breeding inbreeding, inbreeding gets bad past so many generations. And we've seen that with the cleft lip snakes and the shark mouth snakes and things like that. And even with the fertility stuff and some mutations. Rainbow, I think, was the one mutation that suffered hard from inbred uh, issues that affected fertility ratings and things like that, but we're working backwards now in those mutations, and that's why rainbow hasn't really progressed so far genetically because people had to work it backwards to outcross it so much to make it viable again in the fertility side of things. Now we're seeing a lot more production with the rainbow stuff and it's amazing. So shout out to everybody who's put work into that as well. There are a lot of lines of rainbow out there that still aren't producing well, but the certain lines that people have refined are doing better.
What's your thought on kind of bringing new people into the hobby and making sure they're taken care of and kind of fostering, their first few months or kind of getting their feet down before people start dumping shit on them that they shouldn't be selling them? I feel like I see a lot of that in the hobby.
I have mentored a few people already and over the past couple years recently, and when I help somebody, they ask questions, I answer with an opinion. I say, this is my opinion. This is why it's my opinion. I break it down significantly in detail because most of it's about genetics as to the reason why I would or wouldn't do something, or, most of the questions when it's more detailed like that, it's about genetics. If it's something simple, you know, yeah, you already know, take my opinion, take everybody else's opinion, but find what works for you. Um, So when it comes to like investment and people trying to say, is this good? I always want to guide them into their interests and their passions first and foremost. Not everybody is in this to make a bunch of money. Not everybody is in this to invest a bunch of money. So you want to get to know somebody first of all and foremost, you know, what level are you into this? Like mentally, you know, like are you just trying to mess around and have some pet projects at a high level, at a mid level, at a low level? Are you trying to invest at a mid level or a high level? Are you just trying to, you know, vend shows and be a part of a bigger part of the community? There's so many different avenues that you can take, and none of them are wrong. Everybody that takes a different avenue is happy. You know, it's just about what bar you set for yourself as far as your success. And don't let anybody, I feel like too many people in this industry let everybody else talking on the internet influence where they feel like they should be. And you should just, it's all about the animals. You should just take what you love and what you want to be at as a breeder and just roll with it. And that's what I've helped people kind of figure out. You know, my one buddy, he wanted to invest and he didn't have a lot of money, fixed income. I am probably one of the best people to take advice from. I would say, you know, humbly, because I shop on a budget, or I not anymore. I did shop on a budget when I first was investing because I was after COVID, you know, I didn't have a big savings and I had to invest in a lot of probables because probables is a great way to save money. And, you know, in our conversation alone, you know, I purchased animals for sub $1,000 that were worth $10,000 plus after shed testing, just having the eye, knowing what to look for, knowing what probables to go for, so that I could get ahead in directions that I want to be in on a budget. And if I took misses on those animals and I didn't test them out, I got into them for a dollar value that I could wholesale them and not hit a loss. Or if I did hit a loss, it was couple $100, and it's worth the opportunity for the upside of that investment. And yeah, I try to help people invest in the way that they can because not everybody can invest the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Some guys, I've seen guys get in and guys just dump stuff on them that the best breeder couldn't really do anything with. You
I've
know,
barely sold animals to my mentors. I recommend them to
yeah.
things. I find them animals to buy, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you might like this. And they go, wow, I need that after, you know, looking at my collection. Like, yeah, thank you for that recommendation, you know? And that's all that it is, you know, recommending things.
I like to, if something's not good for them, like on Morph Market, we've only sold a few snakes and most of them have just been stuff we didn't need anymore. You know, we hold back fucking everything, bro. I'm the hold back king. You know what I mean? I don't want to sell anything, but a few snakes that we had to move away from just because we got better examples or we got not better examples. We got like more visuals out of them. People are trying to buy them on Morph Market. I was like, dude, you don't need that. Dude, it's not going to work for you. And that's what Steve and a lot of guys did when I got in, is telling me, not just trying to sell me what they had, but genuinely telling me what I don't need, you know, or what might not work for me, or what I already had in my collection that I was getting so redundant on that I didn't really need to have that anymore. And I feel like that's an important component, you know, with new guys. I have a buddy that was getting in and the guys were just selling him just trash, dude. And I was like, you're not gonna be able to do anything with that stuff. Like literally you'll be able to do nothing with that. And, you know, that guy's come in and he came in, got serious about it. And he has, you know, out of just the 35 snakes that he has the most powerful 35 snakes I've ever seen so far. I'm sure some dude somewhere, you know, might have more, but out of his 35 snakes, every single one of them is a powerful banger, you know, and some of them are the only ones in the world. But you
Yeah.
get a guy like that, that guy may have come in and come out so quick just because someone's trying to sell him some trash real quick. But now we got a guy in the hobby who's strong, who has the money to spend. If you have a $10,000 snake, you want a guy like that in the hobby that could just buy it in an instant, without even batting an eye at it. And if you have two of them, he'll buy both of them. Like we
Yeah.
want guys like that in the hobby. We just
The
don't want to try to rip
reality
them off for
is,
500
you know,
bucks.
the reality is, the whole, like, I hate to say it, but the pyramid scheme talk and all that is it's solely based around the fact that, in the 5% at the top animals, those always are purchased by big breeders because it's always going to be another big breeder that's investing in an animal of that caliber. It's typically not going to be somebody buying it just as a long shot investment or a pet. So
Pyramid
you always
schemes,
want that,
you have to get other people
you
in
always
order
want
to
that to
make it a
grow.
pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Anything you have to have other people buying stuff. Anything anybody makes, you have to have other people buying it in order for it to work. So I think when people worry about the pyramid scheme, it's people that don't understand business on how
No, it's
business
not a
works.
pyramid scheme
You
at all.
know,
That's why hate saying
yeah,
it, but I'm just
you would
saying
have
like
to you would have
that.
to bring in your own customers for it to be a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
I'll
But that
supply
small
you the
percentage
snakes.
at the top has to also increase in numbers because
That's the pet industry.
everybody
Yeah.
isn't gonna need to buy from
Oh, you're
everybody
talking about
that's
the top.
already
Yeah.
there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah. Like I know a few breeders that have purchased some really crazy animals from a breeder that nobody else would know because they're smaller time, but they're really killing it with what they're working with, and they're producing stuff that the bigger breeders need to get those incomplete dominants into their already deep genetic projects. But if you can also be on a level where you are basically projecting for the market needs later on in these projects that are going to be popping off, you can already be set up to be producing the added ingredients that will be needed to be, on the market at that time. And that's kind of where I'm at too, is like I want to produce the animals I need to produce to progress my own projects, but I'm also setting my projects up to where my byproduct is hopefully, if I hit it all, with odds and everything, going to be desirable to other bigger breeders, hopefully even further ahead of me in projects, just because of the incomplete dominance and the visuals with the hets that I am hopefully hitting on and able to sell. So
Absolutely. You want to look at some snakes?
yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let me figure out this link real quick and we'll rock and roll.
All right, I'm gonna answer this question right here real quick. So, do you think offspring from a super carry a better phenotype or quality even as a single copy? That is tricky in the same sense as you are typically breeding for selective quality. So, when you're breeding this animal to this animal, you end up usually enhancing that quality even further, potentially even doubling a carrier mutation. So, is it always going to be better when you're producing from a super or a homozygous? Typically, you're going to get a better expression because you have more of those enhancer genes in that homozygous animal. And they may not even be compatible. They just may be, a brightening gene from this one and a contrasting gene from this one that are so subtle they're carrying over into the homozygous. And then you get a lot of variation across the clutch because of that, and it's not something we identify, so we can't really pinpoint it. And that's why I can't say for sure that you wouldn't. But if you had a pure version of a homozygous animal, I don't think, and you bred it to a pure version of a normal without any other polygenic traits in play, you would get no variation. But because there's so many variation of polygenics, you're always going to. And that's where it really lands. So we got this other screen right here.
We ready to rock and roll?
Yes, we are ready to roll. So I appreciate everybody hanging out and joining us tonight. This is the fun part. We are going to see a lot of crazy snakes. And you are correct. You know, when they talk about this business being a pyramid scheme in that perspective, that's exactly what I say. It's like every single business would be a pyramid scheme because a lot of people don't like hearing it, but when you are actually looking at this as a business, you know, most people only sell reptiles, snakes. So that would be technically, in business terms, your product. So, you know, every business sells a product to people. And if your product can go into someone else's hands and they can turn it into something to make money, that's not a pyramid scheme. That's somebody just capitalizing off their own investment of their purchase. And that's where it's really funny.
Can you hear me on this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I can
Yes,
blow. Let me see if I can blow this up. Uh, oh well, it's only showing me the
100%.
small screen, but we'll figure it out.
I'm going to make it right here. I'm going to make it big there.
Perfect. What do we want to see first? Let's look at this
Why don't
guy.
you take us? Yeah, we'll see him. He's grown a lot.
Let me try to do this one-handed. So here's the hurricane.
That thing
The
is
hurricane
crazy.
OD. Is it coming across pretty clear?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What's up, buddy?
The head pattern is insane. And I know that, you know, you fell in love with his head first.
That's it. Start at the head.
The red stripe spot nose, clown head influence. It's just so nice because it kind of gives it that kind of like shield with the horns pattern. And then the stripes. I mean, that thing is so orange. Outside of like the banana, like stranger, really crazy orange clown stuff. This is probably the orangest like non-banana snake I've seen.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's super orange. I mean, I hope the color is coming across well on the camera.
Oh, it'll be in
With
the
this.
recap for next week for sure.
So we got him. A lot of our males are out right now breeding. Let's see if we could disturb some people. So we got the vanilla spot nose stranger clown, double head hypo DG. Oh, good. I think they unlocked.
Ooh.
To the confusion, the vanilla confusion clown, double head hypo DG.
Yeah, that's that one. Yep.
So they just unlocked. I can move him back over.
And that's the female, right? The stranger,
Yeah, this is the
vanilla
female, and this is
confused.
the male.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a killer pairing right there.
And this is one we're real excited about. So the fire leopard, hypo clown, het DG. We're really hoping to get we got a possible vanilla hypo clown double head DG pied as the male. Then this is the female. And, we're hoping to hit like a fire leopard or a vanilla leopard, hypo DG clown het pied male would be huge for us because we could pair it immediately, first thing when it grows up to the pastel hypo DG clown pied and start
Yeah.
taking easier shots.
Then you get triples that are het pied, and then the combos. Try to miss the pastel to get more pattern in there. Even
Yeah,
with the
but
pastel, with all the confusion and everything, with the darkening genes, honestly, it may not hurt it all that bad in the combos in that pairing, you know? I mean, of course, your holdbacks are going to be the best of the best, but
yeah, so we got them going. We got the confusion also breeding this blackhead black pastel clown. She's at 26 millimeters. She's super fat right now. What's
oh,
up,
she's got a
sweetie?
cool burnout mark down her dorsal.
She had the purest white belly when she was little.
Still very white, yeah. Tell her the genetics again, just black head,
A
black
blackhead,
pastel.
black pastel clown. And she was one of the snakes
Yeah,
that I
that's
kept from
crazy.
when I was just a collector. I forget what she was sold as, but she was listed with like three other genes.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, you're gonna have some weird stuff popping out of her for sure. She's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I mean, a pure white belly when she was little. She looked so crazy, and she got
Maybe
fat
there's
so quick. In the last year, she's an eating machine.
maybe there's like a phantom or something in her.
And then,
The whites.
for our hurricane, so we got Hurricane Alley right here. It goes all the way down, and then we have five hurricanes over there. So one of my
I like the name.
favorites. Let's see if we could get bent. What's up, sweetie? So,
Oh yeah,
Hurricane, spot nose, hypo clown,
that
and then
thing is
just
beautiful.
Hurricane spot nose clown.
That was this one as a baby here. Her
Yes.
color didn't change too much. It
Now
lightened
she
up.
still has that purple. So the only difference between these two is the hurricane. And this is one of my favorite examples to look at. And she has these really cool, come here. She has these really cool fake eyes on top of her head. Like, how would you just not like your snake's head to match the body? Like, look
Yeah,
how
that's
sick that is.
awesome. She's got the
Imagine
little
like a
dots in the
head with
middle
no
of it.
dorsal stripes or nothing. Then she has sixes on top of her head that's coming across.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're facing each other with like a mirror imaged. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's beautiful. I love how she has more of the arches created from the spot nose and the hurricane. I mean the hurricane, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing is crazy.
Let's see. Is that coming
Spot
across
nose and
clear still?
hurricane
Okay, good.
is one of like the best interactions because it just
Yes.
they thin each other out. They stack like perfectly on each other as far as the uniformity of the pattern goes, the contrasting, the outlining. They really worked well. And that's
Yeah.
another reason why I can't believe that that crazy male looks the way he does because he's spot nose, hurricane, orange dream, like all these
Yeah.
mutations that give a lot of legs to the pattern. What is
So
that?
here's a super hurricane, yellow belly, hypo clown. She's she's locked right now to our vanilla hypo clown double head DG pied. This is the male that has that kind of like oranges look,
Oh,
the one that we were
yes.
talking about, Scrambler.
This one here. Oh wait, hold
Yeah.
on. I have the picture of it here. This one. Nope,
It's
it's
pretty
not that
dark.
one.
This lighting we have him in right now is pretty dark.
Where is it? I'll find it. Let me pull that picture down.
So she is the best super hurricane I've personally ever seen. She is the second best. And I grade that off of how many of the alien heads are opened on them.
That thing right there. That was a picture of that last one as a baby.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's where we were talking about that scrambler looking influence again with all the edging and lifting and color. That bar color is just unmistakable.
This
But
one,
yeah,
this one came from Hans.
yeah, that one's got that super split.
And good old Hans sold it as a male originally. That fucking guy. Super Hurricane Split Double Head DG Clown.
Okay. Yeah, single copy. Okay. That thing
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah, the other one is even cooler where every one of our alien heads looks like this on the other one, the head hypo.
Oh, I do recall. Yeah, the super has more of the dots on each little arm. Yep,
So
the
I have
super.
three that are very similar. So I have her, her, and I have a male that looks real similar. So I got him from Hans.
Yeah,
And then
this
this is
one's
just a Hurricane
big.
Yellow Belly Clown Pied. I got hurricanes at all levels, even basic ones. And then so like a Hurricane OD clown, not super exciting, but very exciting when you think about pairing that Hurricane Orange Dream Pompeii to it. Imagine hitting the
Oh yeah.
supers.
Hayabusa Super OD. I
Yeah,
mean,
and even
how would
right
that
here,
even look?
hitting that pie. That's why we have these is just to take some shots. And this one's deep in shed. She's kind of an asshole. All these
Yeah,
three hurricanes
Thomas
are
is right. Hurricane is good in pretty much everything. Honestly, everything.
everything.
I haven't seen it
Everything.
not work in anything.
It's the best. It's the best morph in my opinion. It looks good in everything. Here's a black pastel hurricane clown. She's in shed.
Yeah, she's got a real light coloration to her. She was nice.
And this is a hurricane inchy triple het. So hopefully, we can hit some visuals eventually. Or if we don't have visuals by the time she's grown up, maybe hit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's nice. I love Hurricane and Enchi because it's one of the only combos that really intensifies the amount of pattern that an Enchi has.
Yeah, look how crazy. I'm just looking at the
They're just
camera. Hopefully that's coming across clear. And then we got this from Johnny Python's Hurricane. It's a male Hurricane Yellow Belly DG double head hypo clown. So this will be our primary Hurricane breeder male, besides that Pompeii.
okay. Yeah, he's really pretty. I love the Hurricane DG project stuff. I'm
Yes.
I'm interested to see it get more lateral lines to it, get a little leopard hurricane stuff with a DG going on and
Mm.
maybe some other patterns that'll drag it out besides leopard, but that's just obviously the common one.
We're gonna have more coming. So we got this female that just ovulated. She's a yellow belly DG clown. Nothing
Ooh,
super crazy
congrats.
about her, but she's paired to the Super Hurricane um, double head DG clown. So we should be able to hit some Hurricane DG clowns, maybe with some yellow belly.
100% het hypo.
And then we
And
have
false.
so one of the things we're really excited about, spot nose clown triple het hypo DG monsoon.
That's a banger. Spot nose clown triple het.
Yeah, so spot nose clown triple het. She's about 18 months old, and look how big she is. She's like 2,200 grams. Her sister is over here. She's about 1,000 grams. Same thing. Spot nose, huge difference. She's in shed. So the sister's double the size.
That there, that's what?
So she's deep in shed. She looks orange. That's not like see in the
Yeah.
camera. It doesn't look like a true color. So she's spot nose clown, triple head hypo DG monsoon.
Okay. Yeah, her color threw me way off, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
when I looked at
see.
the camera too, she looked way different.
I was like, that almost looks like a black pastel or something because of
Yes,
how
yeah, like
brown it was.
and then so spot nose clown triple het, spot nose clown triple het, spot nose quad het. She's in shed also,
Nice. That's
and then
nice too.
just a quad het. So some long odds, but hopefully we can hit some hypo DG monsoon clowns in the next couple of years. We got a quad het male, but I mean a quad het to quad het is so crazy. What I think we're gonna do with her is we're gonna use the vanilla hypo clown double het DG pied and then try to hit some triple visuals with her with a het monsoon, maybe hit a male and breed it back, because I almost feel like doing a quad to a quad or what, just it'd be almost be a waste, you know.
Yeah.
I'd rather start knocking out some of the visuals,
Are you
and then
interested in bringing the pied over into that?
I would be, yeah. I would
Yeah.
like them separate, but I would also I love pies. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
guys are stepping away from them, which is nice because I feel like there's a little bit of cool stuff to still be
It's
worked.
gonna leave a big hole in the demand, fill in the demand.
Yeah, and
Because
there's
there's
some
always a demand for
crazy stuff
pied.
you can still hit with it, you know. So we got lucky. The monsoon popped up in the collection.
Nice. That's awesome. Like through testing?
Yeah, through testing. So um, we had it was actually this one here. This is the vanilla spot nose stranger clown double het that I showed you earlier.
Yeah. And where did you get that one from?
Steve at Las Vegas Ball Python. So she's the
Okay.
clutch mate of the monsoons. And some people looked at her and said, "Oh, bro, I can ID Het Monsoon. You should test her." And they said the same thing to Steve. And he wound up testing, I believe it was the mom. The mom turned out to be Het Monsoon. Well, all the ones that people said they can see the monsoon influence in, all of them tested negative. And then all
Yeah.
the other ones tested positive. And even now, there's still like he has a couple. I think it was like these little white. She just moved. These little white dots, like right on her neck. They
Yeah.
were saying are like monsoon influence, but wasn't monsoon. But either way, we were
She's
lucky.
het monsoon though.
She's not.
No? Okay.
Yeah,
But the
she's
mom
not.
proved out het monsoon.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, so a lot of people are learning. I mean, the information's kind of getting out there now, but Monsoon definitely had a pattern hitchhiker, and that's why originally it was called a fractal because it was pretty apparent, at least in most people's opinion. And
Hmm.
then they realized that through holding back what they thought were hets, they were like, okay, this isn't an incomplete dominant. It's not as obvious. And it's more so people are looking for the wrong markers. There still are markers, but you can be fooled by the wrong thing.
And then there's the hypo clown pied that started all this.
So yeah, that thing is beautiful. Yeah, so you just can't look at any of those markers reliably.
We also have a couple Grim. Where did I put them?
Okay, I'm actually working on a Grim
Oh,
episode
here we go.
too.
Fire Grim spot nose. She's a biter.
How many Grims do you have? Just her or
Just
more?
two of them. Yeah. The other one is a Grim spot nose, red stripe het clown.
That's cool. The red stripe really interacted a lot with it.
Yeah, I like these. I like these a lot.
Big
I mean, I
Mike
feel like there's
popped
a lot
up.
of potential here where maybe Cosmos left off, where Cosmos might be too difficult with the multiple genes, that you can
Okay.
do a lot of cool stuff with these.
The Grim and the Super, the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, what a cool name.
Yeah, I think that I feel like, Grim and Grim Reaper, they were underappreciated at the time just simply due to the fact that granites just weren't really hot, that it was just one of those things that was on the back burner for a lot of people at the time. But it's super, super cool.
Then we got this Vanilla Clown double het, and it has some really weird. So this was another one that came from that Het Monsoon mom. It has some really weird kind of granity, kind of fractal
Yeah,
spots on the
kind of
side,
chaining and stuff, yeah.
but it's not Het Monsoon.
Yeah, that one almost looks more like it has like a motley kind of fire-ish look to it. Just kind of how the pattern molds together and is real ruffly and granity, but it's still not one of those. Like maybe motley over anything, but
I'm not
yeah, it's
familiar
just
with
weird.
Motley.
It's similar. It's definitely higher expression than a motley would be. It's just what I can draw a comparison to. It almost looks kind of like those circus clowns. which a lot of people think like circus is another line of special.
Oh, here we go. The confusion black pewter clown double het hypo DG is Mr. Ugly Pants.
Oh, I remember seeing
Ugly
that
make
at a
ugly
Vegas.
face.
The full white head, yeah.
Super cool snake, just super ugly. He's so ugly, he's cool.
Yeah, that one was a great example, Josh. That last
So
one.
we might get rid of him if somebody needs them to shoot us a message. I don't know what I'm gonna do with him.
All right, say the genetics one more time.
Pastel, black pastel, clown double sorry, pastel, black pastel, confusion clown, double head hypo DG.
That's still a banger. I mean,
Yeah. If he was not pastel, we'd definitely throw him in rotation.
yeah. So anybody looking for a good deal, make sure you hit up AG.
Yeah, that's
Get
probably one
that
of our
guy and
only
just
snakes that we have something that we probably consider selling. Everything else we're kind of hanging on to. We have some lace.
how many
Lace.
clutches have you produced so far in the few seasons that you've done?
We just hatched our fifth, and we have two more in the incubator. This one ovulated, so she'll be
Nice.
next. And then we have one, two, three, four, five. We have five more coming. Granted, obviously, nobody reabsorbs or some, crazy sort of thing.
For sure.
But we're five in so far, so very, very early. Lace clown het pied. She's a
Oh yeah.
huge dick.
That's real pretty. That's just
Thank
a
you.
single gene lace pie or lace clown het pied.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I like her. I like her a lot. And lace in
That
pie
is
looks so
crazy.
good.
That's just another example. I mean, we've seen a lot of lace clowns and they just that's insane expression there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this
Yeah,
came
you
from
definitely
Justin.
picked the best
Um,
quality.
Jack at Performance Python hit I forget the full combo, but it was a lace pied. It was so sick. It made me immediately want them. It looks, there's so much depth to the way lace looked in pied. And then, so this was a lace clown het pied. Here's just a lace het clown.
Oh yeah. See, that's a very, very nice example of a single lace.
And these like top dorsal stripes are so bright in person. Like the contrast on them is turned up so high.
The lift that has, because lace likes to lift up like the alien heads a bit too.
Mhm.
Just kind of mushroom top, like I call it kind of like mushroom top on the head. But yeah, it just fattens up the alien heads at the top and kind of leaves no space between them.
Hope that's coming across nice and clear.
Super clear, yeah, super
And then
nice.
a white lace Enchi het clown. And she's
Ooh.
super bright.
I haven't
Hopefully the
seen a white
cameras
lace enchi before. This is inspiring, honestly. That's really cool. I love that.
look at
I
that
don't
lift on
like
the side.
enchi in too many things, but white lace and enchi works great together. Look at that freaking thing. Wow. I have a million ideas now. Seriously. Sometimes you just see a combination for the first time and you go, wow, I can really do a lot with that. That almost looks puzzle-ish in its own ways.
Right,
It's
right.
missing the
That's funny. We said
dorsal.
the same thing. It kind of has a puzzle look to
Yeah,
it.
it's missing the dorsal, but it has like that puzzly look to the sides and stuff. So nice. You put like a cypress on that, and it's like, whoa, just one mutation throwing it out there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Cypress would be cool. Hurricane would be sick.
Yeah.
Getting Hurricane and Lace together is definitely a short term goal.
I want to make a comment on this comment here. I feel like everyone's trying to get pastel out of the collection. It's true, everybody in the
Yes.
investment side of things is pretty much trying to avoid it, but something Justin said recently is with everybody that is trying to work away from pastel, we're hitting a lot of these new combos in a lot of untapped territory. And there's so many other new combinations that we haven't hit yet. That the people who don't leave pastel out as an option to see the other side of the expression, because it's a whole different universe when you toss a single copy of pastel into a combo. So if you leave that whole side out, you may miss the whole flip of the industry, because when pastel isn't a commodity and there's a time period, say, of 10 years where there's literally like no pastel on the market, and then everybody sees it again, it may change the whole thing.
That'd be a dream come true if there was no pastel on the market.
It's gonna be a definite thing, like, there'll be always pastel on the market, but it's definitely gonna be a thing where in these higher end combos and these
There's
deeper
a
projects, there's gonna be a lot less of it.
black pastel, orange dream, red stripe, spot nose clown, possibly head hypo.
Yeah, that's a great line of red stripe in that. So, as far as your Pompeii project, what innovations do you feel are necessary to change that and give it a new life?
Guys, seeing how it looks in pied would be really interesting. Getting Super Hurricane in there, Super Orange Dream, Lace would be interesting. It's the codoms are going to become so hard because once we like, let's say we breed it to the Hypo DG Clown Pied and we hit an all gene or miss the pastel. Once you start hitting those recessives on both ends of the animal, they're guaranteed, but those codoms are going to be 50-50. It's going to be so hard to start getting all those codoms in there eventually. You know what I mean? You're going to have, if you're running 50-50 odds on those codoms, it's going to be so hard to start getting, a sixth, a seventh, an eighth. That's probably going to be the future of things is just stacking the codoms. But
Okay.
that's where
What do
I
you
think, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. No, no, no. What do you think?
That's where I think we'll go with it is we'll try to get pied, do a past Pompeii pied and see how that looks. If that looks super cool, go that route. But obviously, the black pastel on the spot nose is probably gonna change that. But who knows? Maybe they don't.
We
And
have
then
a
this was our.
question for you. Big Mike says, "What made you get into the Grim mutation?"
I love granite type stuff. And then with Cosmos, having the issues it's having, I figured that would be a better paint or Grim. Seem was a question about Grim, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Grim or paint seemed like a much better avenue with way more
And you
real
jumped
estate
in
to work.
both.
Yes. And then this is the first snake we ever got. We got it from a pet store. She's probably like a spider lesser, something like
Yeah,
that.
she looks like a calico spider lesser.
Yeah, she's super. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the coolest looking snakes. It just, there's no real estate left in that market. But
Yeah, the stigma leaves no real estate for it. And I think that I think that spider needs to change as far as the stigma goes. There's so many other mutations that have issues that people don't hate on and shame people for breeding that, like why are we going to shame somebody just because they like a mutation that's older that is incredible? I mean, it's one of the
yeah, these
coolest
are
things.
pretty big in Japan, I heard. Like they love this gene in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, you look at boa constrictors, and like one of the most popular, very expensive boa constrictors is the scoria combos, and scoria has one of the similar issues to spiders, where they have not really a neurological, but a balance issue where they corkscrew and stuff. So if there's no stigmas in these other markets, like why are we catering to these haters, basically, in my opinion. Like, why, when they're not hating on everything else they should be.
Right. I heard, I've never worked spider, but I heard it kills the pattern in recessives if you put any recessives in there. Is that true? Do you know
In
much about them?
pied, in pied, it leaves
In
just
spider.
pattern on the head. Yeah, the spider pied, it's just a pattern on the head, and then
Mhm.
sometimes you occasionally get the white wedding pied, which is an all white spider pied. And back in the day, those were the most popular pieds for years, years and years. And the white weddings were even more valuable because they were all white.
There's a black pastel inchy triple het DG clown pied.
Black pestilential triple het. Hell yeah. Never gonna produce a normal with that combo. I love ALS combos. And how do you feel? Do you feel like they're important in your collection?
Yeah, I mean, not hitting normals is always nice. You can see how hungry she is. She's an eating machine. She's building right now, so she'll eat as many rats as you would possibly give her. And then this is just an older snake, a Batman Het DG. I just love the way this snake looks.
Have a good night, Mike. Yeah, Batman's, you just can't go wrong. That one has a very like rip curl kind of pattern to the top of its alien heads under its
Super,
dorsal
super
stripes.
shredded, right? It seems so unusual when I see it.
Yeah,
I had to have it.
let's see its head. Hmm. No, nothing really jumps out at me as far as what it could be. Like maybe a little red stripe or something in there, but just a really cool looking animal.
And then one of my favorite looking animals, which is where did I put her? Uh,
Last
just moved her.
comment
Oh,
from like Alelix out of the future. I believe it. I can back it.
spot nose DG double het hypo clown. I picked this one up from Justin. I just love like this is just from a breeding or just a pet. This is such a cool looking combo.
For sure. And
Has like a bone
when
color to it.
when you shop with your passion, you're always gonna buy snakes that you don't want to get rid of and you want to breed. I mean, that girl, you'll probably, I mean, would you ever get rid of that girl?
This one,
Yeah,
God, it'd be hard just because I like looking at her.
exactly. Yep. And that's what happens. I mean, when you're an investor and you're looking at it as a business, it's always not great to do that, but there's always going to be those like handful of tubs where it's just those
Yeah.
sentimental animals, you know?
We went up 13 high, so we could do I think 167 animals in here, but we can also let me back up a little bit. We could also pull all this stuff out and put 104 more right here. And then we can put more in this back room where we got the Burmese and some
Okay.
hatchling racks. So we can
What's the
bump up.
size? What's the size of that room that you're in there without the extra little hallway that you
It's a
just
good
have that
it's a good
space for the
question.
T-Rex?
It'll hold three 55s. So
Oh, okay,
yeah, I
yeah.
think like
Probably
I
like
forget what the
a
measurements are, but
14
it's
foot.
it's good sized.
Yeah, that's a good room.
Then we got our mail rack right here.
And the sink and everything set up.
Yeah, and then we got the hatchling rack in here. We just put this in here. We haven't really set this up. We got the 10 series. We got the berm over here. Got a carpet over there.
Yeah, are you set on doing burn balls with that
Yep.
or yeah?
Yep. What's up, Tina? You fat
So
lard?
what's your idea on that? That's a green albino or
I think it's just an albino. I don't.
albino? Okay.
We got her as a baby from like a rescue sanctuary. She was in bad shape, undersized, like her scales were all fucked up. Took her months to get her like looking healthy again and get her cleaned up, but now she's put on. I mean, she was probably a pound when we got her. She's 22 pounds now, so she's put on a lot of weight. She's healthy. She's super nice.
Yeah, she's got a very rounded dorsal pattern. and that's just what kind of made me think that she was green, a green albino, because the greens kind of have that more anaconda
You
look
could
to
be
their
totally
pattern.
right. I don't know anything about
The green,
berms.
yeah, I mean, and it may be something different. I mean, it's beautiful. But that thing, when you breed that to a ball python, what kind of combo are you gonna go for?
Get out of here. Um, Heavy with the codoms. We've seen some guys do some pastels in the Philippines, and they look
Okay, yeah.
super sick.
Yeah, Matt and them.
Yeah, I talked to them quite a bit. This is the male carpet we got.
That's cool. Is that like an ocelot pattern?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I don't want to misspeak because I was looking at so many when I bought them. I think it's a I think it's a jungle, but they got that weird gamma jungle jag stuff going on. If it's on a ball python, I don't know much about it. You know, this is again just a pet we bought. I know it's a male, um, and I know the berm is albino, but that's the extent of what I know about those two.
Okay.
This is what you know. If I know something, it's going to be about these. But you were asking about that animal getting rid of her. It's not going to take long for us to fill these top rows up, especially with some holdbacks that we have coming. At the end of the season, I imagine these are both going to be filled. We have 5 more animals coming, so you just think, another row plus a slot. We're going to hit the season's coming for Justin and for Steve. We're going to probably buy just in stuff we're going to buy. We'll fill this rack up this year. Holdbacks will fill that up. And then, we got that for this is going to go really, really quickly. Then we got to decide, do we keep something like this that we really
Uh-huh.
love to look at?
Yeah.
Or do we put an
It
animal
makes it
in
a
that's
lot
going to make
tougher.
10, 15 grand a year, 20 grand a year? Or do we just keep her because we love her,
But that's the thing too, though. When you go to Justin's facility and you look at his collection, he usually has incredible males and a wide variety of females that can range from, from what people would see from the outside as rather simple for his collection, all the way up to more complex females. But I feel it's sometimes important to keep those somewhat simpler females so that if you have a really crazy animal, you can also breed it to still get really awesome animals, but figure things out as well.
Yeah. Yeah. If we wanted to, work something new, like let's say we picked up a tornado, I wouldn't want to drop it. It would be cool to drop it into something super codon heavy financially, but from the sake of me understanding what I'm looking at, it might get
Exactly.
too complicated. It might get way over my head real quickly. And I
Yep.
don't want to find myself in a situation where I sell an animal that I'm not confident as to what it is.
For sure. And you see bigger breeders doing pairings like that all the time because you go, well, they could have paired that crazy male to this crazy female instead of putting this kind of simpler male to this crazy female. But it's limit um it's making sure that you are trying, giving yourself your best chance at really identifying and learning, educating yourself by experience.
Yeah, and that's one of my issues with Cosmo is if I have something with white flame, I don't know if it's there or not. If the best guys can't really be confident, what am I going to know? This is a
Yes, it
possible
is.
vanilla hypoclown double het DG pied. This is the sister of that male we were looking at earlier.
Yeah, she's got a very interesting chained up pattern. A lot more keyholes than I would think, but I would suspect that she has the vanilla involved with her head pattern and everything, more like that fire star shaped head pattern.
Yeah, she's such a cool look. I mean, there's so many of these that are so cool looking. It'd be tough to ever get rid of some of these, especially with our first, some of our first powerful breeders. It's going to be tough to part ways with them in the future. If
Yeah,
we
when you
do,
go, what?
if we do, and it sounds kind of cliche, but um, I've never really a couple things I've sold to strangers. But if it's an animal I really like, I wanted to go to somebody who I know is going to take care of it.
For sure. Especially an animal that, you would have rather held on to, but as a business mindset, you just need to move on from in that sense.
Yes. Yeah, so that's kind of the balance too. And we're not in a position where we have to sell anything, you know.
For
Here's a
sure.
yellow belly DG cryptic. This is a hold back from when we were just a collector. I just bought this snake because I liked the way it looked, but it turned out to be cryptic. And we're probably gonna do like the super hurricane double het DG clown to it. And
Visual
then
cryptic, right? Tested.
yes, yeah.
So I want everybody to realize, and I've had people argue with me in private chats about animals that I've posted from a krypton to a cryptic clutch that I said had to have been cryptic, that had no fat eye stripes or connection to the neck or anything like that. Cryptics do not have it. Kryptons do. Cryptics typically don't. And this is the best proof right here. Thank you.
Yeah, so
But yeah, cryptics are awesome.
this is another one that would probably sell. I'm not working the project. I like it. We're gonna run out of space really quick. Once we start working the monsoon, we're working the hypo
Oh
DG
yeah.
clown and the hypo DG pied and the hurricane stuff. I already know we're gonna run out of space, so I don't have space to work cryptic or krypton. So she's
So
at
let's
11 millimeters. She's around the time she built last year. So it's just another one we'd probably get rid of if somebody had a good home for her. Otherwise, we'll just breed her with the Super Hurricane
and
double
she
head
was a
DG.
DG cryptic.
Yeah, yellow belly, DG
DG
cryptic.
cryptic, yeah. And you were gonna breed her to what? Sorry.
The Super Hurricane double head DG clown.
That would be a beautiful pairing. But that female, I'll have to think about it. It might do something good for me this season.
Solid black eyes too. It's crazy the snake's eyes how they changed. Like she's solid black. This spider has like dragon eyes. She has
Somebody
eyes like a
let pit
dragon.
stalkers know. Ashley and Keita might want that female.
Yeah, shoot me a message.
Yeah.
So those are the powerful things. We got a banana inchy OD clown we got from Ozzy. Oh, we have it paired right here.
Those are awesome. Honestly, like I would recommend for anybody that's like wanting to produce animals for like pet sales at shows and stuff. Everybody has been like producing bells and like a lot of those kind of common pet show like always gonna sell type combos. Banana clowns have been that for the past few
One
years.
of the coolest looking babies we've ever owned. I got it from Ozzy. It was so sick. Banana Enchi Odie Clown. She's another one we'll probably get rid of. We're not really going to work Banana. She's locking right now. She's not really building yet, just kind of stimulating her.
Mm-hmm.
She was just so cool looking. It was hard to kind of get rid of her just because she looks so cool. Figure we get at least one clutch out of her. This is
Yep.
another
Even
holdback.
high-end mindset people are like, wow, this banana clown combo is
They're
it's
gorgeous.
always
Yeah.
gonna stop you.
This is another early snake we got from Ozzy. Super Orange Dream Enchi Hypo Pied. Another gorgeous baby and just a sick looking animal.
Yeah, that thing is cool. You could almost see the faint kind of purplish outlining the saddle still.
Yeah. As a baby, both of them were so ridiculous. And
I
she still
mean,
looks nice, but as a baby, obviously it's a whole different animal.
there's really no other species other than, some boa constrictors that you can get that color palette with as far as the oranges and the saturations like that.
So here's a little hatchling we
Yeah,
have.
that thing is insane.
It hasn't even really fully. We had to do kind of like I'd call it more of a force feeding than an assist feeding. It just did not want to eat its first meal. It's been about a month. We finally had to kind of push it all the way down, but it struggled with its first shed, so it's not really quite the color. Even though the first shed kind of fragmented off,
Uh-huh.
It still needs a couple more meals. I feel like it's going to fill out and look a lot better, but
Gonna
it
lighten
has a
up a
lot of
little.
really crazy oranges that I feel like are going to come through once it goes through a couple sheds.
Yeah, that thing is intense, especially with the saturations coming through the flames and everything.
And this was the one, our primary breeder male that you were showing earlier with like the neon sort of color. This is the
Okay,
daughter.
so I'll show that one again. This one here, the vanilla hypo clown. This one.
Yes, yeah. So that's
So that's a baby from this one?
yes, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So again, along the lines of looking like scramblers, probably involved in that line of animals, all speculation, but I mean, we don't know anything else that creates that kind of melting and saturation. So
Yeah, so that's most of the big stuff. We got some fire, yellow belly, inchy, red stripe, OD clown, head pod. I think we have another. Yeah, that's a cool one.
what
So fire, possible yellow belly, inchy, red stripe, orange dream clown, possibly het pied. So we have a shed test out right now for it. So we'll know hopefully this week.
good luck.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stuff going on there.
So what would you say is your favorite mutation for pattern?
All right.
Uh,
Yeah, sorry, I had a call come in. Am I still there?
yeah, you're still here. Did you say hurricane? Here, let's get you back on the other camera.
Yeah, let me. There we go. I'll turn that off. My phone started ringing, so that might have messed it up. But hurricane's
Yeah,
my
no
favorite
worries.
for everything.
I
Hurricane,
thought you
hurricane,
said
hurricane.
hurricane. And then I'm gonna make you pick a different one for this question, but because it would probably be the same answer. But what's your favorite mutation for the contrast? If you
Hmm.
had to pick a different one.
I mean, obviously, just for the base, everything has to be clown for us. That's gonna do the. If it's not there, if it's not clown or if it's not clown or het clown, we can't really mess with it. In our projects. So those are the two. Those would be the two biggest. But shit, for contrast, I don't know. I don't know for a single gene. I wouldn't have to. Everything I see nowadays is so stacked that I didn't get the luxury of working a lot of single gene stuff like like a lot of the OGs did. So everything I see is always multiple gene. And if something I'm not good at IDing, I'm really new at IDing. But if it doesn't have clown, I have no idea what I'm even looking at for most of the time.
Yeah, okay.
It's everything I look at is with clown.
Gotcha. I mean, I do think a lot of your collection has OD as a contrasting mutation as far as bringing a lot of the color through the alien heads while keeping the blacks dark.
Mhm.
OD is pretty good at that. But incredible animals, incredible projection as far as the path that you're taking. I love the Hypo DG Clown Pie project. That was initially the first project I really put together and made my main project. And
Such a hard one to hit, even with the right ingredients and expensive ingredients, it's hard to hit, with to work that from the ground floor, which a lot of you guys did. I mean, it's like building an Empire State Building. It's just can't believe people did that.
yeah, and they, luckily I can't take much credit for any of that, but they did so much work, and so much of it was still done to miss, to the point where they missed for so long getting ahead with the simple triple visuals and quad visuals that there's already so many incomplete dominants with visual double hets and visual single triple hets and things like that now out there that certain people have, you can get You can literally buy two animals right now from breeders, raise them up, put them together. Say you bought them 2 years ago, right now, raised them up, you're breeding them this year. If you got super lucky, just from that one pairing, you could produce an animal that a breeder has been working for decades to get to the point to even have the chance of hitting. And that's where the value comes in still in those projects. You know, Hypo DG Clown is still very expensive at the top with these incomplete dominants because nobody's hit it yet. And even the big breeders are chasing it. So you have to pay, like you said, for that time that they put in. And I am fortunate to have the knowledge that I have, but to also be able to invest in that same work that those, top breeders put in over all these years. And it's amazing to, if you're thinking about investing into ball pythons, do it with your heart, but it's amazing where you can be at nowadays with the rotating values at the top of projects, because yeah, projects come down, values come down on animals, but something's always replacing that value at the top, some genetic combo. Once this one drops from 25, well, that plus triple het is 25, or
Mhm.
that plus X incomplete dominant is 25. It's always something else that fills that void. So it's never a dying market. And people who think that are just,
Let them think it.
what
Let
they
them think.
are is they're not creative.
Yeah, anyone thinks that a market's dying, like we probably wouldn't have got in during COVID. Like, now is a perfect time to get in. You could get great deals on snakes. You have to really know your business. So I say this a lot is if in that room, let's say we took the whole ball python community, we took every best snake out there and put it in there, that's not going to make us successful. It's the little things you have to do. It's the fast response time. It's the good communication. It's having a good logo, good packaging, good branding, good marketing, advertising. It's all the little things you do as a business owner, being kind to your customers, having thorough thought out answers if they ask you a question, being friendly. Those things are the things that make you successful in any business. The product, it's nice to have powerful snakes, but there's a lot of guys with nice snakes that someone like me won't buy from just because I've dealt with them. I was like, dude, this guy took 4 days to respond to me. Like, he doesn't want to sell a snake. I'm going to go buy a snake from someone else. And you might get a guy like that who he might complain that the industry is going down, but it's just he or she's not doing what they should to maximize their business. And if we're going to optimize the genetics and we're going to optimize, the speed and the testing and all that type of stuff, you have to optimize the business side of things. The business side of things is just as important because we can get rid of that room and put a different type of animal in there and we'll be successful. And we can take those, get rid of them and put a different animal and we'll be successful because the business side of things, from my other job, we know really well. And that's the aspect that, everybody should be focused on is just have good, fast response times, have good, thorough answers, get good pictures, save a little bit of money and buy yourself a nice camera. Use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is awesome for telling you how to set up your camera, how to control the lighting, redesign your logo, use Clutch, track all of your stuff. I just seen recently Justin had hit an animal that was head hypo, visual head hypo, and there was no head hypo in the mom or the dad. And
Yeah, no
they went
known, yeah.
back. They went back and with Clutch, they found like it's either the great grandfather, it was like 3 or 4 animals back. And excuse me if it's only 1 or 2, but I would remember it being way back there. And with
Yeah.
Clutch, they were able to track and they're like, dude, every animal through all these pairings. I mean, you're talking about almost 100 animals in between them
Yeah.
that could be head hypo now, but that would have never happened if you're using Post-it notes and, 3x5 cards,
Yeah.
or it'd make it way
In
harder.
my opinion, that is the number one best feature of Clutch is the genetic history and tracking, the lineage tracking, because I am I am pretty good at doing all of that just through the grapevines of the internet and the web pages and stuff. And it makes it so much easier to go in there and know, like, oh, I'm getting this animal from Justin. Let me go back and figure out what to do. What, the parents were. It looks a little weird. Let me see what might have been in the pairing so I can write it down as a possibility in case it pops out later on. At least I'm
Yes.
not guessing what it could be since I thought it looked different and stuff like that. And I did that with one of my first clutch that hatched this year. Like I got a spot nose triple het Xanthic DG, or I mean a DGG stripe clown from him, and it had a really weird look, different than any other spot nose that I've ever seen, even with het influences. And I looked into its pairing, and in its lineage, it had red stripe and yellow belly in the pairing. So I was like, okay, possible red stripe, yellow belly. So when the clutch hatched out, there were some red stripe looking animals in there, but they don't look exactly red stripe. So I know Arroyo and red stripe are allelic, and Arroyo in combinations looks exactly like red stripe. And when you do the super ALS form, it looks just like a super red stripe combo and on its own. So doing some comparisons, I am pretty like positive, like 99% positive that it's a Royo spot nose blade. And the blade is what made me think a little yellow belly because it gave a lot of lift to the pattern with the spot nose Arroyo. And it's speculation. Hopefully they end up getting a test for the Arroyo Rio. But I think that's going to help us with the red stripe test development and nailing down if there's another line of red stripe or if the test for red stripe is just being completely thrown off by the Arroyo that's allelic with it. So that's an interesting thing that popped up, but I wouldn't be keyed in on any of that if I didn't look back beforehand, before breeding it into clutch and know, like, okay, these are possibilities. And then, not everybody would be like, oh, well, that's looks red stripe, but it's probably not red stripe, but at least they can key in on anything that could be attached and carrying along, making things look different in the future. So it's a huge benefit to our program. And like you going back and testing something, well, finding something and then it tracing back like 3 or 4 generations. That happened with me with a stranger possible het clown that I purchased. It came from Amos' line of stranger stuff that he had potentially paired into like his cyborg line and everything with the Xanthic lavender albino and everything. So I tested it for a bunch of that, which it was probably same about 3 or 4 generations back for the het pied and the Xanthic and lavender, but it came back triple het Xanthic clown pied. So there's a lot floating around.
Yeah, there is. But so the other thing that's awesome about the ball python is there's a community. There's a community of people that you don't get, elsewhere. So put a good community of people around you. Here in Las Vegas, we got some really cool breeders. Obviously, Steve Las Vegas Ball Pythons. Check them out on Instagram if you want to see sick snakes. Nick at Proven Pythons. He has some crazy bangers, just mind blowing stuff. I can't even wait to see what he produces in a year or two. We got a couple things we're building. There's a couple other guys in Vegas, so we're trying to put Las Vegas on the map. Steve's been out here killing it for years. We're gonna try to help him and make Vegas one of the destination spots for ball pythons.
Heck yeah. I definitely want to come check out the collections.
Yeah, and
That's
if
for
you
sure.
guys ever come to Vegas, shoot me a DM. Come by, check out the collection. We'll go get a steak, go to the casino.
I want you to answer this question. I asked for a specification. So where would you recommend getting started? And they said, would you start with a dedicated direction first or networking and other business tasks?
So if I was fresh and I had to start it all over again, The first thing I would do is, team up with someone. I'm going to bring him up again, Steve from Las Vegas Ball Pythons, incredible mentor. But with that, if you don't know Steve, message him. Or if you don't want to do that, join Justin's Patreon, his premium Patreon. It's $100 a month, $150 a month. It's the best $100 you'll ever spend. And one is you get a Zoom call. We used to do it every week. So imagine having an hour to 2 hour Zoom call with Justin and having just every question you could imagine. And you're just asking him, one-on-one, because there used to be nobody else in that chat. There'd be like one or two other guys. Now we got a group of people doing it, but all week long. Yeah, all week long, I would just come up with just the craziest, difficult questions, and he answers them the best he can. And if he doesn't know, Chase might know, or like he'll go and find the answer for you. So you're able to ask the best guy, or the guy that I think he's the best in the industry. He has the ethics, he has the personality, he has the collection, he has all the aspects and the knowledge. So that'd be a great place to start, is making sure the information you're getting is really, really clean and viable, because we all know there's this crazy amount of anecdotal stuff in this hobby. Like the stuff people tell me to do with like, oh, just stick your snake in a sock and go walk around the block with it and it'll eat. You're like, you're crazy. That's not going to work. There's so much crazy anecdotal, like old kind of like gypsy legends with what you're supposed to do with these snakes. And, you got a guy who has 2,000, 2,500 snakes, and he's been doing it for, almost 2 decades. He's going to know exactly what to do in every single situation. So that knowledge base is important. Remember what I was saying is you can't speed things up, but you could slow it down. And you slow it down by not knowing. You slow it down by making mistakes, by making bad pairings, by doing a bunch of things that you have to naturally do to learn. So get rid of that learning curve and just only get good information from the best people. You normally, in most hobbies, you don't get access to people like that. The cool thing with the ball python community is you can just reach out to anybody and you could ask them a question. And if you value what they're saying, you could ask anybody. They're always going to give you an answer. A lot of times those answers are not any good, but when you ask a guy that's going to think through his answer, that's valuable information. So I would start there with the Patreon. Next is get an Instagram and get a Twitter. You got to have them. Because while you're growing up your collection for a year or 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, you got to start building a community and communicating with people. So that's crucial. Design a logo, have ChatGPT do it. It's super easy. On Twitter, you're going to be dealing with a lot of the Asian community. My Twitter is like, I see Justin in English, everybody else is in Japanese or Korean. So you get to see really cool stuff that those guys are doing overseas that you don't see on Instagram. Those guys, most of them are not on Instagram. So you have the Twitter, you have the Instagram, and then from there, just start communicating, jump on a few different group chats and just hang out in the background and just listen and learn and watch the old videos, from back in the day, like the early Miguel videos, early Canova videos, and all the different guys that have been around. Watch those videos, get that information, and just start soaking it in and soaking it in and soaking it in. Get yourself a PhD at what you're doing. Because when you start, those snakes are just sitting there and there's not a lot to do. You could change tubs, you could change waters, you can feed, but most of the time it's dead time. Use that time to learn and educate yourself so that when you do get to the point you start hatching stuff, you already have a community, you already have all the information, and you already know what to do way ahead of time.
Great answer. And I think you covered a lot of bases there, especially the process. It's a great answer for sure. What did he say here? He said 100%. I can see that. I worry about the new people getting in that don't really know who would be a good mentor. So how would you go about selecting a good mentor? Or what would you think is a red flag for a mentor?
If they're trying to sell you something they have, that'd be a red flag. Message us. We'll throw you in a group chat with us and, help with whatever we can. You can just sit in the background and listen to me and my friends talk, and you're going to learn just by hearing us talk. I like those new podcasts that I don't even know who's doing them, but like Leviathan and
Yeah,
Will and
the
yeah,
couch
the casting
talks.
couch thing they were calling it. Those are my favorites because those guys are telling stories
Yep.
of the old days, and I get to start building the picture of how it was before I got here. And one is you help build that respect for that, the older guys and even the guys that were around before them. So that's a great pod to listen to. The Canova University on the Patreon, there's every question you could possibly have. Justin has 50 videos, dedicated just specifically to the ball python. Yeah, the
Shout out
Brian.
to Brian.
Yeah,
He
that's
got a
a
lot of people started.
before I was even in, I remember seeing his videos and I wasn't into snakes. His videos were just super interesting, but message us on Instagram. We'll throw you in a group chat. You can ask us. I have nothing to sell you. I don't want to sell you anything. I want to keep all my
Yeah.
stuff. So anything we can help answer, I'm always happy to answer. And then, when you pick out an animal, we have a group that if I go to buy something, 5 or 6 guys are seeing it before I ever buy it. Be like, hey Jared, what do you think of this? And you might be like, it's all right. Then I know immediately not buying it. If you're like, dude, that's so sick. And like
Yeah. My
I got a
first
couple
my first question is gonna be, what is it for?
Yeah, I got a couple autistic friends that just pick up the most crazy details, kind of like you do with the genetics. And if you see something in there that maybe shouldn't be in there, or just the example. So I don't just trust my own eyes. I get kind of buy-in from everybody else before I buy it. Because once you buy that animal, and if I was to show it
Yes.
to you, if you showed me an animal and you're like, dude, check out what I just bought, I'll be like, hell yeah, bro, that's sick. But if you showed it to me before you bought it, I might be like, dude, that's trash. Don't buy that.
Hmm.
But I'm not going to
Yeah,
hurt your feelings once you have it, unless you really want to know. Then I'll tell you the truth. But I'm also just telling you my opinion. You might have a vision that's way beyond, what I see. You might get a sunset, like the guys who figured out sunset ultra male. Like I wouldn't have thought of that. Like that's a great idea.
yeah, that came out great. I can't wait to see the Sunset Monarch, honestly, personally. That was one that I had a vision for, that I was setting myself up to make double hets for, and I started talking about it, and there was only one other breeder that had already made double hets that season. That was 2024, so they're probably breeding them this year. So there's potential that we'll see the double visual this year, but because of that, I said, well, let me fall back and punt and get into this project when it comes to fruition, see what it looks like first at that point, since it's already on that way to coming to a visual. And if it does work, then I'll just invest in it at that point.
Yeah. There's cool things in the hobby that I might personally like. Like I give you an example. No matter what I do, I can't get Spider to be cool and to get the community to buy in on Spider again, right?
Yeah.
The community has already spoken, and if you're a new guy, it's important to know what the community has spoken on and what it hasn't, because you can spend a lot of money trying to revamp something that's never going to go anywhere. What if you
Yeah,
put like
for
200,
value.
what was that gene that looks sick, like desert or something, like back in the day?
Desert, yeah, the
What if
females
you tried
can't reproduce.
yeah, what if you tried reviving that? You put 200 grand into it. Like you'd be like, hey, dude, that was already
Yeah.
figured out. You can't get, so there's scaleless stuff like that. So there's things that the community has already spoken on that nobody can change. So it's important to know what those are in the beginning so that you don't go down roads that are dead ends or booby traps.
And I will say though that there is only one way that it can change. It can't it doesn't have to always be stuck in the way that it is. The one way that it can change, and the only way that holds it into the lock that it's in now, is everybody shitting on it. Everybody's shitting on this gene and shitting on that gene. If we praised these mutations for what they worked in, people would have a demand for those mutations and those combos, because every single day there's somebody new coming into this industry. It's a world of animals. How many kids grow up loving animals that finally
Mhm.
reach a point that go, I want a snake for the first time. And then they discover ball pythons and they may like a pastel because they're a kid. Just like I liked a pastel when I was a kid. Many of us did. And they don't know the extravagance of this industry. And the more people that are newer coming in that don't hear the hate and the shitting on this morph and that morph, they don't have the shame behind liking it. That's really where the demand falls off, is everybody hates it and they go, well, if I do like it, I shouldn't. Just like you were saying,
Well, you
people
can
have
like it.
spoken.
You just can't breed it and expect to get paid for it. Like
No, and that's
I might get another spider, like a one with kind of like a black
yeah.
side, maybe some gold dusting across the back. Like it'll look sick, but no one's gonna buy them from me.
Yes, I agree. But what I'm getting at, I guess, is that, say, 15 years down the road, when everybody, say, stops talking about hating on morphs this year, and everybody just says this morph works good in this project and doesn't talk negatively about it, in any way. In 15 years, the whole industry is gonna be full of people who don't know hate against any mutation. So now, if Spider is produced or is you know put into all these new combos that it's never seen before, and it does something incredibly different, it can gain a new value without the hatred at that point. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be like the next big thing or anything, but look at Spot Nose. Spot Nose was $100 mutation when I bought it, $100 for a male spot nose het clown. The 2 weeks later, the spot nose clown was produced. Spot nose had the worst wobble next to spider back then, because a lot of people don't know this, but spot nose had some of the worst wobble next to spider when it was newer. And it's very rare now that a single gene has the wobble, but Powerballs always have it. And what was I saying about the
You're talking about the
before the
spot nose,
wobble?
the wobble, and
Before that, but basically, yeah. So the 2 weeks after I bought a spot nose het clown for $100, the spot nose clown was produced. It had wobble. Nobody cared. And that animal, I think they wanted like $15,000 for spot nose clown that next week if there was one for sale. And for a spot nose het clown male, it increased by 100%. It was $1,500 for a spot nose het clown male, just because of one mutation. Now that was a little bit different time period because there was a need for that new foundation, whereas nowadays we have so many different foundations that it would have to be entirely game changing. But if there was one mutation that can really be entirely game changing with all these combos that we have that are starting to look like the next Nissan Altima that's coming out next year, just a little different than last year's model, it's going to be Spider. Spider is going to be one of those mutations that can warp and really twist up anything it touches. And we haven't seen it in so much of this new stuff. Like,
I'd be so
not
stoked if Spider made a comeback.
like I'm not advocating for people to go out there and just like breed as much spider as you can, and like, no, I'm not advocating for any of that, but I'm saying like there is a realistic potential to it, and if you want to shit on it, then you should shit on every other mutation that has issues. So don't be biased to spider.
Yeah, you were talking about 15 years down the road. So
Like if we could
technology,
change and stop talking about it, that could change a perspective.
technology has changed obviously in the last couple of years with shed testing, with Clutch, and some of this other software. So I think it's really important to embrace stuff like that. And when new technology comes out, especially in snake breeding, utilize it. I still talk to guys that don't use ultrasounds. Like that's crazy to me. If you can't afford one, I understand. But if you just wouldn't use one, it's wild that you wouldn't just want to know when the perfect time is to pair your snakes. But I gotta leave you with this. I got a hot date I gotta go on. So you were talking
Oh,
about like
nice.
in the future, in 15 years, I'm gonna have a Tesla robot or one of those Tesla Android machines cleaning tubs for me in my snake room and doing my pairings for me. And that's how you got to innovate and stay, modern, stay current, embrace technology, and always be moving forward. Don't be just because somebody did something in the past, respect that past, but move into the future. Because if you don't, guys like that get left behind. We're gonna pass not a specific person, but a guy who's using clutch, who's shed testing. They're gonna move past guys that are still just trying to prove out hets, which it's fine to do that, but you're
Yeah.
going to take chances missing while the other person's getting
You
ahead of
just
you. And if you want to do it as a business, that's different. If you're just doing it for fun, do whatever you want. But if you're
yeah.
doing it for business, you got to stay current and active with everybody else and embrace those technologies and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think if anybody does make anything crazy that changes the game for spider, it's gonna be one of those pet people that just are breeding it because they love it. It's no one like us that's investing because we're not using that mutation that has, like you said, been spoken upon by the industry on the investment side. But it's not to say things can't change, and that's all I'm leaving it at. I'm not going to be the guy that's out there producing a bunch of spiders, but somebody else definitely could change. It
Do we have
definitely
any,
could change the way people look at things.
do we have another question before I got to jump off?
Let's see. No, just some people backing everything up. I mean, you have to make to achieve a balance between doing what keeps your passion, but also what enables you to pay for your passion. And then just do what you like, work with what you enjoy, and call it a day. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and just
Both
from
those
the
are great.
investment side, you have to be smart. Like, if there's not a market for that mutation, you can't breed it into an investment side of things. And I think that too many people, last final thought, too many people take a breeder's thought and perspective of things to heart. Like a lot of the quote unquote hate on mutations isn't really hate. It's just educated knowledge and direction that we are trying to pass on to people. Like, hey, you don't want to make a pastel clown. Hey, you don't want to make a pastel this or that. But it's okay in DG puzzle and it's okay in this and that, but it's still not something that's going to benefit your value. So if you're trying to do it as a business, avoid these things if you can. It's not a bad thing to invest, like AG said, into an animal that has it if it gets you into a project you could otherwise not afford. And I've done that many a times too. So keep keep yourself resilient, keep yourself learning, always keep your eye out for the next new thing,
I'm
and
going to
have
make
a
a shirt
great
that
night.
says pastel's never okay. I'll send you one.
Okay, you got him?
I'm going to make one. Have our merch team
Okay.
make them. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for having me on. If you guys want to shoot me a message, Coil on Instagram with a K. We have 2 accounts. We have a backup and a primary. Shoot me a message. Say hi. I'll love to get to know you guys. Thanks.
Y'all have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Is it recessive, incomplete, dominant? That's a no-brainer. Read the parent like a puzzle, every clutch another lesson. Each morph can change the story, every combo flips the script. From humble little hatchling to a masterpiece you grip. Head stamp designers, pattern magnifiers, contrast killers and color amplifiers. It's all in the blushing as it grows.